Hello world, and welcome to a 21st birthday / anniversary Advance Wars special. We are recording this video on the 10th of September, 2022, and we just realized that means we're definitely not going to get this video out on Advance Wars' birthday, which is September 10th, but we are recording on the 10th of September, so happy birthday to you, Advance Wars, and we are all here to discuss, talk about, and celebrate the Advance Wars series, which we are all, lovers of and content creators for. So you guys probably already know me. I am your host, Illegal Carrot, aka Dan. And hot off of a recent stream, let's introduce Advanced Warrior.
Oh, me first? Alright. I guess, the name's in the game. Funny enough, I think I'm probably the only one that's already on the next day because I'm on East Coast compared to the rest of you guys. But, hi. How's it going, guys and gals? I'm Advanced Warrior, Advanced Wars enthusiast, and Advanced Wars content creator for single player and PvP.
Alrighty, and the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who got me into casting Advance Wars, Atori Gold.
How's it going, guys? I'm Atori Gold. I love Advance Wars, and I will make more videos for it eventually, soon, sometimes. I promise.
Please do. And I believe a developer on Advance Wars by Web, so everybody show him your praise. Red Halo.
Hello.
I kneel.
Let's see. I guess I am a mod on the Advance Wars by Web site and the Discord server. I've done the movement map animations for the penguin units, and now I'm working on the battle sprites for the site. And I have ideas about how to have a really good UI even compared to the regular games and stuff. So yeah, we're hoping to keep improving the site and stuff.
And
I
thank
absolutely
you
love
for
those
what
penguins.
You do. Yeah, I'm sure Go7 is very grateful for everything you've done for his penguins.
Not just Go7, I've done collabs with other Advanced Wars by Web players, and 4 freaking collabs in a row, I've been up against those Koboldized penguins. 4 collabs in a row, including Red Halo.
You always gotta go penguins. I mean, what? Every other faction, human, boring. And then you just got penguins.
Correction, I think White Nova is space theme or whatever, but I don't know about you guys, black hole for life.
Oh, brown desert all the way, baby.
I respect brown desert. Art?
Well, for me? I mean, I would have to go with the penguins, probably. I do like the black hole. I do like the black hole, though.
Oh, you only like.
Well, I am a simp for Sturm. That is very true. I love Sturm.
Sturm is why I like the masked villain characters.
Yeah, he has his theme is kind of a banger.
I still prefer his Advanced Wars 1 variant, though.
Have we seen what he looks like in the reboot?
Yes.
Oh, we have? Oh, I'm gonna have to take a look at that picture then.
He blows
Is it
steam.
fire?
I could probably send it to you through DMs.
Please do.
Maybe this can be go through the thing or whatever. Fair warning, it's gonna take a while because it's 25 megabytes of video.
Alrighty.
Well,
So, sorry to interrupt. Let us get started with a kind of an introduction to the Wars series, I guess, is the best place. If we want to keep it on track, let's start there. So let's talk a little bit pre-Advance Wars, even though none of us have actually played the Famicom Wars or the Game Boy Wars series. I've seen a little bit of gameplay of it. I've seen some Let's Plays of it. It seems real goofy to me. It's something that I've always wanted to go back and check out. It really strikes me as one of those games where, I don't know, even just looking at it, it gives me that weird and fuzzy, Nintendo nostalgia feelings just looking at it. Something to do, obviously the pixel art, right? But something to do with just the aesthetic of the game. It just strikes me as classic, nostalgia Nintendo stuff.
for me, I think pixel art is pretty timeless. It just always holds up, and I don't think that's nostalgia speaking. I just think it genuinely holds the test of time. It's really amazing.
Yeah, and I think, isn't that where they got the origins of Like, each nation being kind of based on another nation. I know there definitely was a Hitler character in there. And that was, of course, the German
only
faction.
one I know. That is the only one I know, because I have not played the game, although I have seen videos of it.
Yeah, I don't understand why Nintendo didn't go with more Hitler references in their future games, but
Nice. I don't know. The only other character I would probably know from this game is like I've heard of like a Mr. Yamamoto character or whatever, and apparently that's supposed to be like maybe like a sensei inspiration, which is a character that debuted in Advance Wars 2.
A younger sensei, I think.
Oh yeah, something along the lines of that. Of like, but yeah, like you think Sensei debuted in the second game, but sadly I haven't played any of the earlier games, so he might have already debuted before I even knew.
yeah,
I know
bet.
that mechanically it had a severe issue. What I've heard from people that have played it, unlike the later games, there wasn't a first strike advantage. So if you hit somebody else, then you didn't. It wasn't useful to the player attacking. So that was an issue that made the game even more defensive.
Oh man, yeah, I was about to say, from what I've seen of it, I'm sure there were a lot of like not just aesthetic improvements and graphics got better as time went on, but they learned how to design a game a little bit better. And so, maybe it's for the best that we didn't get to experience that first, that we actually started off with Advance Wars. So
We got
I guess
spoiled with the good content.
yeah, let's go right on in then to the game whose birthday we are talking about. Advance Wars 1 came out September 10th, 2001, a very unfortunate release date, although nothing Nintendo could have done about that. So
Yeah.
I have not played the first Advance Wars. So I'm actually unfamiliar with this. I've read up the COs. I'm kind of familiar with the game and the units and the aesthetic and the COs and everything, but having never actually played it, I can't say too much about it. But it obviously launched a very influential, an amazing series that, led to the games that I did play and led to Advance Wars by Web. So I'll let you guys, with a little more experience than me, go on about that.
Yeah, this one for sure was what got me into it. I remember getting it back in the day. It was my first Advance Wars game, and it actually what has led me kind of more towards Fire Emblem as well. I actually didn't know anything about Fire Emblem, but then I learned that it was made by the same people, so that's how I ended up checking that series out as well. And I absolutely fell in love with the first one. It is the most nostalgic, but also the most broken. But that also is kind of what the charm is to it for me. I think that it's pretty fun to be overpowered in that game. And it's very simple, though. If you look at the units that you have, you're missing a lot of key ones that you would kind of want now in a competitive game against another player. So it's just spamming like medium tanks and rockets as grit and stuff like that. But it ultimately always kind of have a nice little place in my heart. I just love the first one so much. What games did you guys all start with? Was it the first one? You did?
Yep.
You started there?
Yeah, I started with Advance Wars 2.
Which I think is the one that I think a lot of people like the most when it comes to how it's balanced. A lot of people like that. Because obviously you have Dual Strike after it. Maybe we'll get into that because there's a lot to talk about with the tags.
There's so much to talk about Dual Strike. Oh my gosh.
They did some interesting things. Some of which I like, some of which we all hate. So I am excited to talk about Dual Strike. I got something I really want to mention later.
Definitely.
Anyways.
That was actually my first game. Dual Strike was the first one I actually played.
Yeah, tell us
Dual
about that
Strike
first one, because I want to know like where this series began, and I only know, the result of where it went.
I know that with the first one on the Game Boy Advance, that was back when I had that old link cable thing, and I learned from Advance Wars it could be used for more things than just trading Pokemon. In fact, you can play Advance Wars with people. It was pretty fun. I think that I played my Game Boy Advance like pretty much every day on like the school bus or whatever, and I played a ton of War Room, which is why I made a bunch of those War Room videos. I always find the War Room to be kind of like chill and relaxing. I don't know if many other... do you guys like the War Room at all, or do you guys have any experience with doing all those? Yeah, I just find it so chill.
It's it's like a great alternative for where if you don't have any other people to play Advance Wars with, such as myself, and it's a nice little break from campaign. And if you're a bit competitive into it, then yeah, you could definitely try to get like the best score off of War Rooms.
When I was younger, I definitely didn't realize how broken some of the commanders were. I just thought I was really good at the game.
I bet.
Oh man.
But then as I played against some of my friends, I was like, oh, wait, I'm kind of getting it now. Hold on a second. No, this character's just OP. But yeah, I really liked Advance Wars 1. So obviously, I think that I never personally experienced it, but I know that the release date is the biggest tragedy. How bad do you think the release date was for this game? Do you think that if the timing, didn't happen, would Advance Wars be bigger than it is now?
Yeah, that's something I was going to bring up right away. I honestly think that really, really stifled the growth of Advance Wars dramatically. Personally, this is my personal opinion, and a lot of it's just hypothetical because we don't know what would have happened, if other things happened. But the fact that it was September 10th, I mean, it had no news traction, and it's a war game, and then the different wars in the Middle East started, and it was so... It had such of an issue of the timing of everything. And I think it was at a time when Intelligent Systems had other titles that they also were working on. That was before Fire Emblem really caught on fire and became the mass-producing, just money-making thing, that money printer that it would eventually become. So I think that was the best chance for Advance Wars, and I think it was just really kind of dead before it could start for Advance Wars 1.
It's always been that game that when I had somebody that knew about it, they loved it. It was like the best thing ever. Everybody loved it. But nobody heard of it. And I felt like if more people heard of it or tried it, they would love it instantly too.
Don't quote me on this, but I heard that the play style of Advance Wars, turn-based strategy games, was the first of its kind for the Western audience. Now, don't quote me on this, but this was just something that I heard. Now, yeah, like we all said, we're not entirely sure how it would have gone if there wasn't such events around the release date. But I think it definitely would have caught a lot of attention just for how new it was for the Western audience.
Yeah, that's why it had so many tutorials.
I can't wait until the dozens of comments just ranting about how Advanced Warrior is wrong. It's like, no, according to
Final Fantasy Tactics, maybe?
Oh, I'm sorry, I never played it. Sorry.
Yeah. Somebody's gonna say chess.
That was the thing that got me to, I don't know, Advance Wars, especially, that was kind of back in the day when you would pick up a physical box at the store and it would have a physical game in it. So the box art really kind of did matter. And the box of the game really kind of did matter. So I remember looking at it. I was always a big fan of strategy games like Red Alert and turn-based stuff like Final Fantasy Tactics. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance was another Game Boy Advance game I played a ton of. And so it was that kind of background and that familiarity that got me to give Advance Wars a chance. And, I'm glad that it did. But... yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics was kind of probably my first turn-based. And from there, I'm surprised that... It doesn't surprise me that the genre has stuck around because there's, people like chess, and that's a turn-based game, and that's been around forever. But with, games advancing, technology advancing more and more, obviously real-time stuff becomes, easier to make, easier to play, all that sort of stuff. But I'm glad that this turn-based sort of genre has stuck around the way that it has, evolving into Wargroove, like we were talking about. But yeah, I definitely really enjoyed it when I got it, and I was sold on the box art. That was got me. I never heard about the first game, and maybe I never heard of the first game because it got swept up in the news, right? There's no way to know.
True.
But really, I don't think the September 10th, 11th thing affected me at all. I was just a 12-year-old kid in 2003, And I just saw that box and I was like, cool, this looks awesome. And so there we go. That's what started the journey.
I agree with a lot of that. The box art was amazing, but I also think the double-edged sword there is because you have the box art of these guys on a tank, right? Essentially, they're on a tank, they're kind of shooting. The parents potentially could see that and not buy it for their kid who know nothing about video games back in that day. And I think that's why the numbers got affected, right? Is because they would see that and associate it with the war and then not potentially buy it because of it. Even if it looked kind of cartoony, that art style, I guess they just don't like the imagery of the tank. That's what it did unfortunately affect the sales, I think, pretty heavily.
I can totally believe that.
Obviously.
Like, I totally believe that there's some parent out there who's just like, oh, no, we can't have a war game.
Yeah.
No. But I just personally, I don't see, like, I wouldn't care. I don't understand why, you know, like, it's a anime cartoon video game turn-based strategy game. I
Yeah.
just because a bad thing happened isn't gonna make me not buy the game.
It's crazy though, because I agree with you completely, but I just know how paranoid and crazy. Like I remember vividly my parents were on September 11th. I don't want to bring everybody's mood down, but they took it seriously. Like I lived in Ohio, middle of nowhere, when all these things were happening in other parts of the world, and in New York City, and all that stuff. And I'm sitting here in Ohio, home alone. Parents are at work, and they call me and they go, "Get in the basement! Get in the basement!" Like, what are you talking about? What's going on? It's like, get in the basement. It's not safe for you right now. Like, my parents were actually legitimately freaked out that something was going to happen to me in the random house in Ohio on that day. And I remember that pretty well because just how freaked out she was, because, it was kind of weird. I didn't even know what was happening, what was going on. I wasn't watching the news as a kid home alone. So I do know that the state of mind of a lot of parents, they didn't want to associate themselves or they didn't want anything like that probably for their kids. And of course at that time, I was younger, so a lot of my games were bought for me by my parents, so they probably would have known better the day before maybe to not buy that game. But that is something that I think about. I do think that event really did hurt a lot of people's chances at playing Advance Wars as a kid, which is a sad thought.
True. Yeah, it's not the kids who are buying the game, really, it's the parents. And the parents,
Yeah.
they might not want the association of war, They might feel like,
Yeah.
oh, there's too much bad stuff on the news already. You don't need it in your pocket.
I
That
think
could have been Nintendo's selling point, war in your pocket.
I'm pretty sure there's still
another up really quick. I think that the advertisements for Advance Wars honestly really suck. I don't know if they'll be able to be shown on the screen, but I posted some of the ads that they had in chat. It's just touching is good, and it's a hand that's dropping bombs. And I think that's something people are just gonna just glance over and turn the page back in the day, because it's a day of when magazines are still big. Then there's another. It's just a picture of a Game Boy, Game Boy Advance Lite or whatever it was, the open one, the flip phone version.
The SP?
It's some of the worst advertising also. I just feel like it really, all the other ads I've seen for it, generally, at least in my opinion, kind of suck.
Was it a bad ad or just the correlation with
I just don't think it's as appealing for a lot of people, to be honest.
Okay,
And
because
it's
those
not even
ads were
showing
definitely
the
paid for
style.
months ahead of time, so there's just nothing Nintendo could have done about that.
I think that, I haven't seen this, but I do think that it's a Japanese game, and I think the Japanese audience probably had a very different marketing strategy for selling this game in the West. I know that they had a lot of different views on selling. They didn't even think this game would do well in the West, actually, because like we were saying earlier with the turn-based strategy, they didn't think the West was ready for that type of game, which is why they introduced so many tutorials in it, because they genuinely thought that the whole idea or concept of a turn-based strategy was too difficult for us. So that's why they had so many tutorials.
Nintendo's kind of always had that attitude, right? Of Americans will be too stupid to get this. We can't let them have Mario 2. You're gonna be too dumb for it.
Mario the Lost Levels.
Yeah.
They were really lost in the West. Although I think you can play it on the Switch right now.
Yeah, it came out eventually, but not back in the day. not right away.
Yeah.
I do want to. Oh yeah, continue. Sorry.
I wanted to say. I guess I'll get to that later. I did briefly look at the commercial, and yeah, I would say that like 90% of it was like live, it was all live action. There was like maybe like a few seconds of like gameplay footage, and just showed it being played on the DS. So I can kind of see the lack of appeal that it could. I could see how it wouldn't attract so many people. Like it was a little bit funny when like you just saw a bunch of tanks just like dropping out of nowhere, and then yeah, so it's just like it could be commercial about anything, but I probably wouldn't have thought it was Advance Wars if it didn't show the much little gameplay near the end of that commercial.
And imagine the relevance at the time period as well. So that I think that was for either DS or Advance Wars 2. So
DS. Wait, I think they were also in like a desert-like environment as well. So.
Yeah, during the incredibly unpopular war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Then they decide that instead of showing like the anime-style characters or some of the interesting things, they decide this is what's popular right now. People really want to see a game looks like the Iraq War. This is what we're gonna do. I just feel like really tone deaf.
That sort of thing.
I don't think there's any. I'm sorry. I don't think there's any like, desert themed like anything in Advance Wars. Like even like the deserts in the like Dual Strike, I didn't think they were desert. Yeah, it's like based on how they were trying to present it and what they presented it with, it feels very disconnected.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sort of thing might work for a Medal of Honor game or Call of Duty, but
absolutely,
Advance Wars has always been kind of cutesy, kind of goofy. So it's definitely not to Advance Wars or Nintendo's strength to lean into the ungoofy, serious, somber, violent sort of end of it.
Going back
Honestly,
to
also, if I saw that commercial and knew nothing about the series, I would think it's some kind of a first-person shooter or something like, of a tank and blowing up other tanks. It's not like if you like nerdy tactical strategy games, this is for you. I would think it's more like a loud and kind of click a button, shoot a weapon kind of thing.
Yeah, you'd have to know about the series for the ad to even make sense to you that it's an Advance Wars ad. Going back to okay, everyone, get ready for this stellar transition I got going on. Going back to Super Mario 2: The Lost Levels. Speaking of sequels, let's get into Advance Wars 2 because that's the one that I played. I feel like, and this is just me kind of making a guess here, but I feel like Advance Wars 2 was definitely the more popular one, the one that got more people into it, the one that probably, it certainly had a better release than the first one did, but I feel like Advance Wars 2 is, when a lot of people think Advance Wars, they think of Advance Wars 2 specifically. So it came out with, were there any new COs? I know there were some new units, and of course, a new campaign and all that stuff. Were there any new COs in that one?
Yeah, they had Black Flash Adder. Sorry, continue.
No, I was just saying, it's just we're already in the transition. I was just gonna say that I didn't even get to say anything about my childhood with Advance Wars. So,
okay. No, let's do it. Because that was the first one you played, right?
I am so sorry. I am so sorry to just launch this in after the transition. I'm very sorry about that.
No, that's quiet. We'll retrograde for a little bit.
Yeah, I guess we'll just retrograde. But I actually didn't play the first Advance Wars until I believe 2006 actually. So it's definitely been a couple years after the year Advance Wars was released. I was like a toddler at the time it was released, and I've never heard of the series. I was just mainly like a Super Mario and Legend of Zelda kind of guy. And to the shock of some people, especially Red Halo, I never played Pokemon, which apparently is pretty huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is kind of surprising.
I guess my technicality is probably 4 hours of Pokemon Platinum on my channel at the time we're recording this. But it was mainly Mario and Legend of Zelda. I was in the car with my family because they were all going to this neighborhood for a yard sale, and I had my DS with me, and I was just sitting in the car because I wasn't really interested in some of the quote unquote junk that everyone was selling me. But my mom recognized a Game Boy Advance cartridge because, believe it or not, my mom used to be a gamer. Like she would go to the arcades and she would just kill it at like most of the games. But sadly, it hasn't transitioned well to me. But yeah, I was just sitting in the car and my mom went up to the window, knocked on it, and said, "Hey, do you want to check out this game that's just sitting here?" And so I just went there, went outside just to see, because obviously I was a little kid excited for games. And then I see like the Advance Wars. It didn't really have much to it. It was just like like a grid background. Like it was only the cartridge, no box art, no instruction manual or anything. I was just like, it's a game. I guess I'll just try a new game. Yeah, it'll be nice to take it. And I'm just gonna say that was probably the best decision that I've made in my childhood.
Yeah, that's a heck of a find.
I mean, do you see my name?
Yeah.
Advanced freaking warrior. How do you think I got to this point? Maybe a little bit of Fire Emblem inspiration, but yeah. So I was excited to pop it in my DS because at the same time, like a day or two before I found the Advance Wars cartridge, I found out that the Nintendo DS was backwards compatible with GBA games. So it was just a lot of nice things coming in at once. And I was just like, is this the future or something? Clearly it was not. But the sad thing was, when I popped it in my DS, I realized that the last time I played it, I didn't turn off the Switch properly, and it was on low battery. So I was trying to figure out how to play Advance Wars with low battery, and I'm not home to charge it. So that was a little funny, but definitely did charge it. And I will admit, it did definitely take me a while to figure out how to play. Like, I was like 7 years old. I didn't know any better, but I didn't know how to end my turn. that was my first problem. I didn't know how to end my turn. Usually it'd like show up on the side, but like to open up the menu, you gotta click on anything that's not a unit or whatever. And I'm just like, what did I do? I finally got the hang of it, and then after playing it, I started to like see the comparison with like chess, and I was like, I felt really good playing it because I'm like, oh my god, I'm beating these levels, and it's a strategy game, so of course naturally I felt like that I was smart and like doing the right. A genius at the time for like playing this kind of game, and I'm just like, I'm doing this right, that must mean I'm smart. Oh my god, this game is making me feel smart. I love it. And yeah, that's basically how I started playing Advance Wars ever since.
Awesome. So was the first one your first one, or you played DS?
Yes, right? Advance Wars 1.
Okay.
I said yeah, it was a Game Boy Advance cartridge. Like I said,
and you played it on your DS.
I played it on my DS, not a Game Boy. Oh man, those things had no backlight.
Oh yeah, no, I was about to say the DS is just the best way to play a Game Boy game, anyways.
Yeah, that or the SP, but I feel like the SP is. I hear it sucks for like more faster paced games, but a slow pace like Advance Wars, then yeah, maybe the SP would be nice.
Yeah, I never had the SP. It always just, I don't know, something about it looked goofy to me. And I feel like if you were to like move your hands really quickly while you're holding it, maybe it would snap shut on you.
Like a flip phone.
Yeah.
Maybe. I heard to some people it was like a lot less ergonomic than the wider Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, it's smaller and square, whereas the Game Boy Advance is, I don't know, man. The shoulder buttons on that felt so good. Not that a lot of games use shoulder buttons, but like it was just a nice thing to hold. It fit perfectly in your hand.
So yeah, that's basically my childhood with the first Advance Wars game. And I was gonna bring up something else too. Yeah, just something a little bit relatable to now. We were talking about how like parents are like the ones like funding the money for their kids to buy. I just wanted to bring up that that problem still arises today. Like I remember the first time I used Facebook in the first couple of years, and that was when Call of Duty World War II first came out, and there's like this angry parent who just showed a picture, like a graphic picture of like people being hanged on trees, and they're like, people are really buying their kids this game, and then And then they're like, other parents are like, yeah, I can't believe it, I'm not gonna buy this game. And then the other half of the comments were, but it's historically accurate though. It's a World War II game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to bring up that that problem is
I definitely remember back in the day too. I mean, people have been blaming games for crap forever, but it's certainly been a lot less common recently, which I'm glad to see. Gaming in general has just been kind of more accepted as an art form, so stuff you do in movies, you can kind of get away with doing it in games a lot more now than you used to, and people aren't blaming games for like your kids' crap anymore. At least not quite as much.
Not quite as much.
That's just the evolution of an art form.
And we didn't even need to get some of these parents to know what an ESRB rating is.
Right?
I'm pretty sure Advanced Wars is like the first one's like rated E.
Oh yeah, it's so interesting, the aesthetic. It's so goofy, and it's kind of I'm sure it's like an inside joke with the community. You know, we've probably all seen that comic. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one, but it's just like was it Sammy and Andy, and they're like, yeah, let's fight, let's go to war.
Yeah, like all of them are
and it's all
suffering
goofy and funny, but like you're sending dudes to their death. Like when a unit dies, it explodes. Don't tell me they survived that.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I think that person does a lot of famous art like comics and stuff.
I saw a meme of I'm trying to remember. It was like the top picture was like, we just won another battle. We just won this war. Let's celebrate by getting ice cream. Yeah. And then the next picture, you just see like a soldier on his knees, just screaming at the sky from PTSD. All these buildings and vehicles just destroyed around him.
All right, Red Halo. You've been quiet for a little while.
Sorry.
I've been waiting for Dual Strike because I never actually played Advance Wars 1 or 2.
Okay, I was about to ask. Well, then let's hit Advance Wars 2 first, and then we'll get to the one you've been waiting for.
I got a lot to say about DS too. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. New COs. Everybody's favorite Flak.
Oh, we're starting with Black Hole?
We got a lot of new COs here that I think I mean, this is the thing that I love about Advanced Wars. Their new commanders are always just so much fun to play around with, which adds to the replayability to this game. Just exponentially, just your idea with strategies and way to play all the different commanders in different ways on the different maps. The replayability of this game is, I think, why it's so addictive and still played for so much still today. So yeah, all the new commanders we got Hachi, Colin, Sensei, Jess, Hawk, Lash, Adder, and of course, Flak. Who are some of your favorite? Do you like any of those? Is any of those your favorite? For me, I know I definitely love Colin. Colin's always one of those ones that I love playing.
Let's see here. Let's also not forget to mention that transitioning to Advanced Wars 2, some of the COs got changed, and there was also the addition of superpowers as well. In the first Advanced Wars game, you only had one power, and you know, it's just like, you know, when you have that power, you pop in, then you make a move. But in Advanced Wars 2, there's just like so many more possibilities with having two different powers. And, you know, it's not like, you know, how do I say this? They're all not the same, and they're all like used for very different scenarios, which just adds another layer of that replayability that you were mentioning. Yeah. Now, as for my favorite COs, I used to think Sensei was a really bad CO. I used to because I'm like, it's just like, oh, he only has 3 good units and 2 of them move so slow, like infantry. Like we all know nowadays how important infantry are, but I used to think infantry weren't that important. So I was just like, oh, Sensei's so bad, but you know, he's a funny old guy who's like, you know, really good. I really like. I'm sorry.
I think his theme song is a banger. I love his
theme song is an absolute banger.
I can't even recreate it. It's just too good. It's so silly. I love it.
It's so jazzy.
Yeah, exactly.
Jess, I liked the idea, but she had just way too many weaknesses. Like
yeah, she's not meta. But I love the idea of that, right? I mean, that's pretty cool. I like the idea of the ammo and fuel coming into more of a play. That's one of the reasons I really like Drake, is I like being able to drain the fuel just kind of maybe revolving around the the opposite side of that. It just wasn't that good, though, unfortunately.
Yeah. Colin. I used to think Colin was bad. I remember the first time I played Colin, I knew I was going to struggle. And then I'm like, wait, why is my army like all of a sudden 3 times bigger than Lash? And I'm just like, who cares about my lower damage? I'll just use them all and attack them all like that. Yeah, that's my experience with Colin, and they had so many new COs for Black Hole. I'll just summarize this. I feel like I've been talking for a bit. Flak, I didn't understand what the hell was going on with him. I'm like, wait, this is dealing damage. Now, wait, this isn't dealing any damage. What the heck's going on? It's like a slot machine.
I still
Flak
don't understand what the hell's going on with Flak or Grim or I get
Grim?
it in a logical sense, but like I just in my brain something doesn't connect where it's just like what? Why is this a meme? What is
they
happening?
went something new. They added something and we just weren't familiar with it. Flak, slot machine, I guess. Adder, very simple. His style was cool, but I don't know. Maybe I just found him a little boring, or maybe I didn't unlock him when I was younger playing
Advanced
Wars
pretty
2.
boring, I think. It's just movement.
Yeah, it's
Not flashy compared to some of the other characters we got.
Not very flashy. Lash, I thought was broken, and Hawk.
Really?
Hawk is probably my most favorite CO. At the time, it's like my most played CO on Advanced Wars by Web. Actually, it didn't even matter to me about how expensive his powers were. But I was just like, oh my god, he looks great, he sounds great, his powers are terrifying. New favorite CO. Yeah. I love Hawk.
I think
wanted
Hawk
to
is a
bring up
Sigma.
about the balance of the COs in Advanced Wars 2. And compared to the COs, which we're going to get to in the future, but so 3 or 4 of these, I think that there's Hachi, Colin, and Sensei are pretty absurd. And I think after the game is out, I think that they had to figure out, some of these commanders are pretty stupidly good. I think Hawk is kind of in the middle. I think he's like one of the stronger ones, but he's not quite broken compared to some of the others. And then the rest are kind of middle or kind of lower. So I think that it's kind of interesting in Advanced Wars 2 that nearly half of the COs are just broken in their own ways.
I hate some of the nerfs that they did in Dual Strike, though, when we get there.
I do think that there was a reason they had Flak and Adder, because they were meant to be kind of weaker on purpose, because at the beginning of the campaign, you fight against Flak, and then it's Adder, and Lash, and then Hawk. And it's kind of like
you fight
this
a little bit of Lash. I think you fight Lash once in the beginning. Yeah.
But I think that they did that kind of on purpose to kind of ease you into it before it started to get a bit more difficult. I think
really
that was on purpose.
I like Lash's concept, and I'm surprised that in a more competitive sense, especially, if we start getting into Advanced Wars by Web, I'm surprised, just, kind of gut feeling, that her offensive bonus that goes along with defensive bonus just isn't more competitive and isn't more overpowering. You think, well, the game is already built around terrain. You want to effectively use terrain. So getting offensive power for that terrain is just crazy, especially when you consider that most tiles are fields. You're at least getting 1 star out of it. That means most of the time Lash is going to be getting a 10% firepower bonus at least. And when you consider that like Hawk is a really top tier CO, and his day-to-day is just that he gets a 10% firepower boost, it seems like Lash would do even better than that. But I guess, her CO power and her super CO power aren't quite as bonkers as other ones are, although they are still very good. So I'm surprised that she's not... she's pretty good. She's not looked down upon as a CO, but I'm surprised that she's not just a little bit higher ranked all around.
I think she's, I personally think she's a really boring CO. I actually don't like Lash. I don't think I play her, ever. Which might be more of a hot take, maybe. But, yeah, I don't know. I kind of get what you're saying. I think she's kind of boring to play, though, personally, and I think that's why people don't play her more. But if people did play her, they would realize she's pretty good. But, yeah, I'm not into Lash, personally.
to tie into that, I think that there's it kind of also shows some of the brilliant competitive balance that Advance Wars has as a player versus player game. I sometimes think of certain commanders, like if you think of a graph of their strength over time, like turn by turn. Certain commanders are very, very strong early on, and then their powers get weaker over time, and some are the inverse. For example, Lash, like you said, you have this amazing bonus on terrain, and it makes her a real powerhouse in the early turns. But then later on, as the game progresses, she gets kind of weaker because generally her powers hold her back. So if you're a player that likes early aggression and is trying to snowball a lead, some players like those kind of commanders. Whereas certain other ones are rather weak early on and then get stronger. Like Andy is kind of the extreme other example. He has no bonuses at all for his units, and he kind of sucks early on for a lot of in a lot of matches, and you're kind of just trying to hold on. But then his amazing, amazing might be too strong a word, but his strong for his tier superpower kind of really makes up for it. So then you have a lot of these commanders that are stronger or weaker or change as the game progresses. Unlike a lot of other games where a character is just static the entire thing, like in almost all fighting games and a lot of other tactics games. But this constant shifting of powers and who's stronger, who has the advantage, and what should I do? Like so many other games, it's always you do this, then you do that, and it's just by the book. But Advance Wars kind of flips the script, and it's, well, you want to do that on some maps, but on other maps you don't do that. And some maps this character's good, but then not over here, which gives it this amazing replayability and really deep mechanics compared to so many other games.
Yeah, the depth in this game is unreal, actually. And I think that one of the things that I always wanted, and I don't even think it would be that hard in today's day, but back in the day, when you didn't really have things like DLC, I think something like DLC in an Advanced Wars series, just adding new commanders or whatever, kind of similar to how Wargroove had an update and they just like, here's some new commanders. That's all Advanced Wars really needed to continue. And it's always really bugged me that it's taken them this long to try to reboot this series. And it's still actually a struggle, because even when you do get news of a new game, some more unfortunate things seem to happen.
I think,
but I love this game so much.
We'll get into the
hurts.
reboot in a moment, but I think Nintendo is definitely very wary about their release dates now, and they don't want a repeat.
This series is just cursed. Let's just throw that out there.
Yeah. I do think that I don't know. I'm always hesitant towards DLC in general, in that anytime you have that ongoing opportunity for developers, or really what it is, it would be publishers, kind of pushing developers to do this. But, you give developers the opportunity to put in, like, let's, charge some money for a really, good unit, a really overpowered CO.
That is true. I don't mean to interrupt you, but Wargroove's DLC was all free. I just want to put that out there. It was all free.
Like, that is a wonderful way to do
That's what I want.
You have to ask,
that's
is
what I want.
Nintendo going to give away free DLC?
No.
I think it's
probably
on Advance Wars 2 and the early Advance Wars. I think it's also worth saying that at the time constraints, there was no way to have DLC or balance patches. And I think that it's also... that also hindered it in a lot of ways, because since tactics games, if it's and player versus player, is really where Advance Wars shines, in my opinion, the player versus player, compared to a lot of its contemporaries. And the fact that back in the day, it was hard to go against other people. You had to have somebody else at the same game, you had to have a cable, this and that, and there were no balance patches, so they knew that certain commanders, turns out that they're strong, or there are certain issues, but once the game's out, they can't do any other updates to it. And just being a victim of its time a bit, I think that held it back quite a bit too.
How do you guys feel about the new unit that was introduced, the Neo Tank?
It's a nice little unit. If we're gonna look at tanks, I think the first game only had the tank and then the medium tank, and then this Neo tank, which for the campaign you actually had little side objectives for some of the missions to find that city, capture it, and then get the
lab, right?
the secret lab, and then beat that mission in order to get that unit. So it was a nice little additional thing to do in the campaign, not just kill the enemies, take their HQ or whatever. It was like, sometimes you do a little bit of scouting. It's just like, all right, I'm just going to take some of these units out of their way. Hopefully I don't lose too much tempo against an AI opponent, whatever, and just try to like find those. Especially some of them came at a surprise too. That just made me think we should probably talk about the story as well. But in Toy Box in Advance Wars 2, Olaf's
Oh yeah, Toy Box.
and then you get this pop-up saying, oh my gosh, we just found plans for this new unit, and you're just like, whoa, what? And it just kind of like engaged you just a little bit more to like do other things other than just the same old thing in some Advanced Wars games. But about the Neo tank, I kind of like how it's a nice offensive option, because medium tanks, I believe, move a lot less than a Neo tank. So the fact that the Neo tank can like move out further, it just felt like a nice unit to have. It felt like an actual upgrade from the tank, where obviously the medium tank is still stronger than its tank, but movement-wise, correct me if I'm wrong, does Neo tank have the same movement as a regular tank?
Six tread.
It has 6 and 6.
So I would say it was a nice addition. Kind of sucked how there weren't more new units, but it was still good enough to change it up just a little bit.
It's,
in my opinion,
maybe it's for the best that they didn't go overboard with the new units, because I don't know, they really could lose track of things if they added too much in. Like, chess works because it's got the pieces that it has. It's always cool to have new things, but if you start messing with the formula too much, or even just too much at once, because DS also added in some new units, but you can't just throw too much into the mix, otherwise you're basically making a whole new game at that point.
Days of Ruins.
When was Naval introduced? Was that Advanced Wars 2, or was that always around?
Naval units? It was always around.
Yeah.
But just no one ever bothered to use them outside of the mission.
There were only new naval units in Dual Strike.
Yeah, Dual Strike added a lot.
Yeah, Dual Strike added
I feel like
much.
This is kind of like a...
Neo tank, before we go on to another topic really quick. Yeah. I think that they added the Neo tank because it was also very easy to animate as far as the sprites go. So I've been looking really closely at a lot of the sprites. The Neo tank's movement sprites are generally just the same thing, but then they just kind of alternate the colors on the little tire things, and that's about it. And there's a firing animation that's kind of similar barrel-wise to the other units. I think that it was kind of they felt like they needed to add something new. But the animation is kind of, you could tell that they kind of cut corners or made something kind of easy to make, and it was kind of an interesting design. It felt otherworldly. I guess it was a black hole design and storyline as far as what I hear. So I think it was good for what it was.
The Neo tank always kind of weirded me out with those little wheels, like. A tank has treads
in the sprite.
And then the Neo tank has these little dinky wheels that look like they would just fall off.
Yeah.
On the map, the Neo tank, you could see the legs like moving, right? Like like all the units have like a little idle animation, and you just see like the legs moving. It's just like, oh my god, it's like a walking.
It looks like a pig.
It's like, it looks like a monster. It looks like a living thing. And then when you go see the battle animations, the legs are stationary and they're all just going on wheels, and you're kind of looking at it like, what the heck? Like, I thought these things walked, but no, they just...
It reminds me of a teacher wheeling in a giant TV so you can watch a video for that day in class. Just...
Oh man, so nostalgic. We are talking about nostalgia.
Well, yeah. Speaking of
all.
nostalgia, back in my day, this was still of the era, like you were saying, before patches, before DLC, and to get a little bit off Advanced Wars, but still keeping it within gaming. It's interesting to kind of see how gaming has evolved with DLC and everything. And it's almost a little sad that, like, you know, we'll never go back to the day of just having a game on a cartridge, and there you go. There's always, you know, when the game goes to print, but before the actual publish date, the developers are still working for a day one patch. And I don't really know where I'm going with this, but it's certainly like, I kind of miss the days of just, you know, having a game on a cartridge, and it works.
Simpler times.
You know?
Simpler times.
They're not like making the game and releasing and planning around a day one patch where they, you know, fix half the issues and leave it up to the modders to fix the other half of issues.
In some cases, it's really them releasing half the game and they're planning the rest of the content to be,
Paid DLC.
released later or DLC. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the Game
Which
Boy,
is a big worry.
Like, you could leave a Game Boy or a Game Boy Advance. Like, I moved into a house, and the people that lived there previously, they had left the Game Boy Advance, and I guess it had just been sitting outside. It had been waterlogged, and I could tell because I could see moisture, like, behind the screen, right? And this thing had been left outside in the sun, in the elements, and then, you know, I swapped out the batteries, put in a game, and it worked. And, yeah, Nintendo knows how to make a really solid brick of a thing. Although I have a feeling the Switch, you couldn't waterlog it and have it still work.
Probably not.
I'm looking at mine right now, and yeah, it's just.
You're
so
wondering why
funny to hold.
Reboot isn't in it, is what you're wondering.
Exactly. No,
Wasn't
no.
that released
I still have
April this year?
Okay. Back the summer when it was announced, I pre-ordered Advance Wars. I still have the freaking receipt. The letters are starting to fade.
Oh yeah, you got
Please.
scammed.
So, in case somebody's listening to this in the future or other things, if they're like looking up Advance Wars content, I think it's also worth saying, as the time of this recording, the reboot's been delayed, and all of us have been waiting anxiously for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, if the game's already been out and you're listening to this and you're wondering what are they talking about, the game's been delayed.
I figured we should talk
no
about it a
specific
little
dates.
a little later when we get into the reboot, but yeah, it was supposed to come out April 2022, and due to a certain invasion...
No, that's the second delay.
Yeah.
That's the second
Nintendo
delay.
was like, hey, we know what happens when we release games around times of conflict, so let's just not do this. Although I do kind of have a pet theory that they're also using it as an excuse to maybe get a little more development time in.
No, Nintendo is actually doing the right thing here. They're actually trying to save the world. They saw what happened in this Curse series when they released Advance Wars 1 and it created 9/11.
Yeah.
So then now they just announced it, then it created all these other issues and wars in the world, and they know, like, if they release the reboot, it's going to cause Armageddon.
Why
so
did Nintendo cause 9/11?
Because Andy doesn't know what an airport is.
No! Oh no! No! Oh my God, bro! Dude.
We're gonna get banned
I do not
from
want
YouTube.
to put two. I do not want to put two and two. No, I don't think this will get banned. Like, if you're not making money, you're making money, you probably get demonetized. But how can you be demonetized if you're not
I'm
making
so
money?
sorry.
I don't know what your
Nintendo
channel's like,
doesn't
but
want their secret to get out.
A minute 53. If you want to edit that out, save that. I'll let you know.
Oh my God, that. All right. So any final
Advance
things
Wars
to
Dual
say
Strike.
about any final things about Black Hole Rising, which is what it's called? Any final thoughts on Black Hole Rising?
I think it was better than the first one, but I love the first one so much from nostalgia. But I do think the second one is better.
I do love the first one, but just all the small little additions that they made felt right.
I do think, you know, just in theory, having not played the first one, the addition of not just CO powers, but also superpowers, you know, if you think about the depth and the complexity that comes from so many different units, so many different COs, so many different maps, so many different powers, and then you throw, like, hey, everybody gets an extra activatable power, a superpower. That just, you know, they added a couple characters, but in terms of just the characters they added or the units they added, Advance Wars 2 has so much more complexity, possibility, so on and so forth, because of those CO superpowers. And obviously it's something they stuck with into DS And so it was a good idea, and it just adds so much more depth to the game. And that's the kind of the thing that makes me not really want to, not that I don't want to, but that's the kind of thing that's held me back a little bit, is it's going to be a much simpler game for that reason.
Oh, and, the reboot?
No, just Advance Wars 1 with only having CO powers. Because you don't have that, like, do I activate my CO power now, or do I save up for a superpower? But if I have up enough for a superpower, maybe I can still use my regular power, and then I'll have a little bit of charge left over.
Yeah.
It just adds so many questions you need to ask yourself as a player.
I think the superpower, now that I'm thinking about it, you're actually really selling. I think it might have been the best, thing Advance Wars added.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I think it was one of the best things they added to the series overall.
I sometimes go back and play Advance Wars 1, and I'm just like, okay, power's here.
Yeah, you just use it.
It's like 80% of the time you want to pop that power. Yeah. And then like in Advance Wars 2, you get your first power, and you're just like, okay, I could use this now, get a small edge, or I could save it for a more devastating superpower.
I think that Advance Wars 2 mechanically and new commanders, new maps, Sturm looks so cool in 2. Just everything about it made it a much better game, and I think it did sell more than Advance Wars 1. I would have to look at the sale charts, but I'm actually pretty confident because I think I did research on this one a while back. But yeah, it was a fantastic game. I love it. And I even though nostalgia tells me you should probably go back and play it, I completely understand where you're coming from, if you don't play it, because I think the second one's just too good. But
one thing about
you're good, go on.
One quick thing about the mechanics also, there's an interesting rubber band mechanic that's embedded into the game where instead of one player just snowballing a lead to victory, if your unit dies, then the defending person who had the unit, you get the full unit value added to your meter. But then attackers only get half.
Oh yeah, so the damage you do, you only get half charge. The damage you take, you get full charge. Yeah. Is that? I'm assuming that's different from Advance Wars 1.
I'm just saying mechanically, it's kind of a brilliant thing that they've had. I'm not sure if it's different in Advance Wars 1, but. It's different. It becomes different in DS, but it's a really brilliant mechanic with that rubber band mechanic. So if there are two people playing, if somebody has an advantage and they're doing more damage to, say, player 2, then the player who's been taking more damage gets their powers first. So there's that inherent
comeback mechanic
that's really clever too.
Okay, yeah, because I know it's a bit different in Wargroove, right? You were telling me, Atori.
Yeah, and now that I mention it, I wish Wargroove had superpowers. That would actually make it so crazy, but I don't know how you would even balance that. And day-to-day powers, too, as well. I really like that.
Yeah, Wargroove should just be Advance Wars.
It should be more like Advance Wars, but keep the Thieves. Please keep the Thieves. That is one of the best units ever. I love that unit. My favorite
I'm not
unit.
there yet.
Dude, you get a unit, and it goes to a property, and it literally steals the gold or the funds from the enemy. Then they can't use it. But the whole thing is if you kill the thief, you get the money back. It's great. I love that mechanic so much. It's so cool.
Minor spoiler for me, but
I'm sorry.
Guess we'll just. That's okay. So how many minutes until we said we were going to go to Dual Strike?
Well, we're on Dual Strike right now.
Let's go to Dual Strike. I feel like we all. I feel like we all have a lot to say. I feel like we all have a lot to say about Dual Strike, but I'm very interested in hearing what Red has to say, honestly.
Okay,
I feel like you've been waiting for this.
Yeah, spring it on us.
I've had 0 hours of Advance Wars 1. I had 0 hours of Advance Wars 2, other than just
Big fan!
I had roughly 700 to maybe 1,300 hours altogether of Dual Strike, just sitting alone.
Man.
So it was for many years of my life, I would sit down, if I was listening to podcasts or I was listening to music or doing something, I would just be playing Dual Strike while I'm listening to stuff. I'd just be chilling out. That was my zen game, my just relaxing and stuff game. Now, I don't know if this shows obsessive behavior or something, but during the 700 to 1,300 hours, hard for me to keep track. Around 90% of that time, maybe more, was me just playing Colin. Not even joking. I was only playing Colin for roughly 600,000 hours of my life just calling. Sometimes if it's a tag match though, I would be Colin and somebody else because I can't pick Colin twice in duel.
I won't be surprised if his theme song is stuck in your head.
I hate it so much. I heard that.
It's so goofy. I love it.
Very, I guess, it's definitely something that for some reason it just really clicked with me and I just chilled. I just really, really like Dual Strike, though it has many faults of its own mechanically.
I would say the tag system was a big fault. I think it was kind of neat for the solo campaign, but I remember I played the game a lot with friends IRL on the DS, and we always used tag powers. That was what we did for the meta, and I was just like, I don't know if I like this. This guy's got Eagle, he's got like a billion turns. This is just a disaster. So we eventually stopped with that. So that was my biggest complaint with Dual Strike. But one of the best things about this, in my opinion, maybe you guys don't agree, but I fucking loved the talents. Loved the talent system. The skills, I'm sorry. I've been playing a lot of World of Warcraft, okay? I apologize.
He has a problem.
A lot of Wrath of the Lich King, classic. Alright, anyways. But I loved the skills in PvP. Playing around with all of those different options was so much fun. If you just had like a balanced version of it, because, you know, obviously a lot of them are a little OP and some of them are just like kind of weak. But I really like the idea of customizing that commander a little bit more complexity, a little bit more depth. You know, maybe you'll go for JVR, right? And you just get all the defense and just be a real son of a bitch to kill.
Who is JVR?
Javier.
That's how I said it.
I know.
I apologize. But
who also
you
has a
understand what I'm
goofy
saying.
theme.
Yes, he does have a really, and he says goofy things too.
Glorious Heinz
I love
spanking.
the skills. I don't know if you guys like that or not, and maybe that was a fault to you, but I thought that was really fun.
So was that a single player thing?
No, it was multiplayer.
Multiplayer.
Oh, see, having not played DS, what
Maybe I could get
year? That was 2005. So around 2005. Yeah, at that point I was playing MMOs. And it was kind of like at that point in my life that I stopped playing single-player games so much. Now, I should have picked up Advance Wars DS because there is that multiplayer component. Didn't it have online multiplayer as well?
Maybe.
Am I Vittori?
I mean, you could
Red
go
Halo?
on the Wi-Fi on that thing, but it was not something that I did that often. I mean, it was
You were
pretty
just playing
terrible.
with buddies.
Yeah, I just played with buddies. I mean, you probably could get away with I mean, the internet speed back then was terrible.
That's
right?
true,
You're
but I mean,
probably-
it's a turn-based game. How, you know? It's not
I
gonna-
feel like this is kind of notable to mention, even though we could have mentioned it like at the very beginning, like back to Advance Wars 1. You can play with your friends and still just have one cartridge.
Yeah, that was
like
that was
no
why
lit
this is
cables
so
at
popular.
all. It's like
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
end your turn and then just pass it over. Unfortunately, I never had a pal to play Advance Wars with, so
I'll be your
but
pal.
well, I mean, we have Advance Wars by web when we get there.
Yeah,
but
that's
yes,
right. That's
I have so many pals to play PvP with. But Dual Strike, going back to focus.
I think the skills, and like you were saying, that was something that made it so much fun for me and my friends because you just take a turn, you hand it over, and we had a lot of because you could just close that sucker, and just do it like hours later. So like I would do that at night, right? Just bam, go home. Then in the morning you could play and continue the game or whatever. But yeah, I don't know if you've played around with the skills, but you do it in PvP, and that's why it was so much more fun for me. Parrot, because the depth was certainly there. You could either get a little bit of everything, you could just kind of stack things, like you had two different options for direct attack damage or defense, and same with indirect, and so you could kind of mix and match a little bit because you had 4 options. There were some overpowered ones. I think everybody, at least in my experience, we had house rules, so we would we would typically be like, don't take that. Right? Come on, don't take that. We're not doing that. We're not playing a game like that, okay? But but yeah, it was ultimately a really, really fun way to kind of take the game to a next level when it came to PvP. I really missed the skills, personally.
go into the opening up the can of worms of the things that I think that they messed up. I'll start with tag. So, because one person here hasn't played Dual Strike, so the tag system is you have 2 COs and you could tag, but if both meters are charged up, then you have 2 turns in a row. Or if your first CO is Eagle, then you move as Eagle, then you use tag, and then you get to move again, so you could also have 3 turns, hypothetically.
Oh,
So-
It
jeez.
is.
Yeah.
It is the most ridiculous.
It just you just couldn't play it in PvP in serious context with players that had any kind of skill, because it just really made the game really cheesy and broken.
So
And many of the units also messed up the game too.
tags are in Advance Wars by Web, right? Like technically.
Advanced Wars by Web has it's a vastly improved system, so they just don't have tag breaks. So you have 2 COs, but then you could switch between them at the end of turn or stay as the same CO. But their tag breaks aren't there, so it's dramatically more balanced.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
there's
play
like-
tags either way, but I just know that there's tags.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
tag
the
so
powers
nightmare
were
fuel.
absolutely
That's the nightmare
insane.
fuel. Is the Eagle tag was my nightmare fuel. I always got mad if my friend was selecting that. I'm like, I'm not playing. Choose a different commander. I'm not doing that.
And I never played tags, but this was just something that was I guess I just innately knew. I would pick Sammy and Eagle. Well, not with friends. So obviously, like I said, I had no pals. I just played by myself. But Sammy and Eagle just felt right, and for obvious reasons. Obviously, what you can do is like say at the start of your turn when you have Eagle, you can like have an infantry and a transport, move the transport, and then pop your tag power. You get lightning strike from the transport. You move it again. You can drop the infantry near your opponent's HQ. You switch to Sammy. You got victory march. Boom! You beat the game by sending an infantry halfway across the map to capture an HQ.
That sounds so gross.
And also,
That's why Sasha is very nice. I like Sasha.
it also completely invalidated certain commanders' weaknesses. For example, you could just be a Hachi or a Colin with a Kanbei. So you could just buy cheap units and then swap into Kanbei, whose main weakness was that he has expensive units. But then if you bought your units on the turns when you had the cheap commander, then you were just certain CO pairs were just too overwhelmingly broken.
Oh man, what were they smoking?
I don't know.
It went crazy.
What else? Going back to skills just a little bit. You know Nell. You know she's the Luxio.
Yeah.
There's a Lux skill, and yes, they stack.
Nice.
It all stacks, man. You can do
It
so
all
many crazy
stacks.
things with the build. Like I love the skills, but it can get unbalanced, right? Like it gets a little crazy when you look at some of the tier 0 stuff and the skills combined with that. It's insane.
It's like, yeah, it's like it feels like the best way to play Dual Strike is to just play with single COs.
I guess
yeah, no,
about it as a series, I think it's also an important note to mention to see the changes that they did between different games. And you could see the changes between Advance Wars 2 and then this. This is more wild. You could see in the art style, it's a little more serious and less cartoony. You could definitely tell that there's a difference there. And even the cities in like Advance Wars 1 compared to Dual Strike, there's a big difference. It's a little more serious looking, less cartoony, and some of the things are wildly broken as far as the units go as well. They added the stealth unit, which could go invisible and you can't go through it, which just breaks many PvP matches. You have the black bombs, which I think are way more broken than stealths overall, which are just a giant AoE attack, which immediately takes a dramatic amount of damage from a bunch of enemy units in an entire area. And it also gives no meter to the enemy for all of the damage that they took. So in many serious Dual Strike matches, if people are playing with black bombs unbanned, it becomes just black bomb spam at some point, and whoever had more income and was able to get their black bomb spam first, or was able to snowball a lead from that, it had so many issues if nothing was banned, and it just Dual Strike, I think it had a tremendous potential, but then it was too much and it was too unbalanced. And you could see when we're talking about it later for Days of Ruin, you could definitely see the major shifts and the readjustments that they tried in the next game.
I feel like Dual Strike is kind of labeled as like the aggressive meta. If I was to describe like all the games, Advanced Wars 1, I guess it was just like, very vanilla warfare, whatever. And then you had a power, and then that would just give a boost depending how strong the CO was. In Advanced Wars 2, everything felt a little more slower. It was more stally, more calculating, I guess, especially with like the inclusion of like 2 different powers for each CO, like when are you going to use it or when are you not going to use it. And Dual Strike, everything just went off the rails when it came to damage. Like apparently, like even Hawk, who has a very expensive CO meter, is going to get his Black Storm a lot more faster, a lot more frequently, because everything's just dying left and right. And there's like
skills for
more
that.
than that actually. The meter system changed from Advanced Wars 2 to
before we get there.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. Before we get there, there's also 2 more things that I feel like also changed up Dual Strike dramatically, and it is 2 things. One, in Dual Strike, whenever you used a power, you now have an additional 10% offense. So it felt a little crazy to me that like if you're playing Colin and you're using a power, all of a sudden you have normal attack. Because like the first 2 games it was just plus 10% defense, and say like who else? Adder, like he has a very simple power of just moving, and he didn't really have any attack to speak of. It was just movement, and it was just like, okay, you just moved, you get a little bit of defense. But one of my favorite kind of powers is the ones that combine movements and attack boost, kind of like Max and Jess. But the fact that Adder just gets a 10% boost, personally, it just didn't feel right. And another thing that made the meta really aggressive was the inclusion of comm towers. Comm towers were introduced in Dual Strike, actually. So I guess everyone is kind of like Hawk in Advanced Wars 2, but if you're Hawk, then you just have a plus 20% with all of your units. And as much as I like them with some COs, just in some games and like some COs, it just didn't sit right with me.
I think out of all of these, even flaws, because as we've been discussing, there are many flaws with Dual Strike. It's still my favorite one out of all.
It's still fun to play. Don't get me wrong.
It's still my favorite. It's one of those ones where if I'm playing with someone, I'm like, okay, no, you're not allowed to do that though, and not that. But we're allowed to do this and this. This is fine, but no, don't do that. Like it's one of the ones where it has all those house rules that we all kind of made up as we played in order to make the game kind of the way we wanted to. It happened with almost every element. No tags, don't use those commanders, they're too OP. Don't use those skills, they're too OP.
Don't combine this and that.
Yeah.
And what was it?
terrible.
What was it that you wanted to say about powers, Red?
So as far as Advanced Wars 2 and Dual Strike, the power system has also changed. So as I guess I'll mention it because it actually fits with the timeline. I know we're going to mention it more later. But between the time of Advanced Wars 2 and Dual Strike, Advanced Wars by Web actually started. It's nearly 20 years old itself, just that website. It's like ancient. But Advanced Wars 2 had the old meter mechanic where the defender gets the full cost of the unit as their meter, and the attacker gets half. So in Dual Strike, they changed it up where certain units give different amounts that's not necessarily their cost, and it gives way more meter. So if an infantry dies, you get much more than you would in Advanced Wars 2. I think that we can I don't know about, I think I would reasonably assume that all of these changes made the game more aggressive, because Advanced Wars 2, for as good as it is, if you didn't have the house rules of play on good maps and if they weren't decent players, it can be an incredibly stally and defensive game. So especially on maps that it was just became a stalemate because there's nothing you can do. So I think when they were making Dual Strike, they just told the developers, well, people are complaining that it's too defensive, it just becomes 2 walls of units. That's the biggest complaint about Advanced Wars 2. So then they were like, make it more aggressive. And then the people balancing Dual Strike said, you got it, boss. You want aggressive? We'll give you aggressive. And
Snow doesn't even slow you down in Dual Strike.
Well, you get way more meter. I know I'll mention it later, Advanced Wars by Web, but since it has Advanced Wars 2 mechanics, coming from Dual Strike, I didn't realize that it had different mechanics. in the first match I played on that site, I went against a player rated around 700. He was very low, and it was my first game on the site, and I was immediately sacrificing all of my infantry because I was expecting a bunch of meter, and my meter wasn't going up, and I was saying, that's really weird. Is that a glitch on the site? I don't understand. And then I died in flames.
Oh man, that is
Do you
Yeah,
want to
it's
have
a
anything to
question.
say about the new commanders? Got quite a
Okay, Jake and Rachel. Rachel became the new menu girl. I
few. For
have
me, it was Sasha.
Oh, Sasha was your menu girl.
Oh yeah, I love Sasha.
But can you make Sasha your menu girl, or is it like always Rachel talking? Do you know
Well,
what I mean by menu girl?
She's my waifu. I know what
okay,
you meant.
she's
I
your-
thought you were saying she was like your favorite girl, but
No,
to
no,
the
no, no, no,
actual-
no, 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 Sammy. Sammy is like,
Okay, I got you. For
Yeah,
me, it was Sasha.
yeah. So Rachel felt weird. Like none of her day-to-day or powers like even felt like they synergize well or like even belong together. Like she just gets like extra healing on her cities. Okay, does she have anything with like repairs or cities, whatever? It's just like nope. Let's just if you don't know that Rachel's Nell's sister, let's just give her a luck boost for her power. It's just like oh okay. So does that mean that her new power is her super is just like is she just gonna get like more luck? Okay, it's just like no, it's just gonna make her rain missiles on your opponents. And I'm like, where's the correlation with all three of these powers? Like Jake felt a little bit better because it was all about ground units and plane tiles. So, he had a firepower boost for planes, and it just gets stronger with the powers. Also with land vehicles, land indirects, they can shoot further, and land vehicles also like have more movement. All that felt like it like meshed well together. Sasha made a lot of sense, especially since she's Colin's older sister. Javier was interesting because for Green Earth, it felt like each CO just had a specialty in certain units. Like Eagle was air, Drake was naval, Jess was, well, I would say ground, but her infantry were pretty bad in the second game. But more like vehicles. Javier, let's just give him comm towers. And I'm just like,
Oh, right. That was introduced in Dual Strike as well, wasn't it? Comm towers.
Yeah, that's what I say. Comm tower is just like the additional plus 10%. Javier just gets like 20%. So that felt a little bit off, but I still really like the CO a lot. And as for Yellow Comet, Grim was just a glass cannon. I'm gonna shock you guys. I really hate his theme song. I don't like it so much, and it just didn't really add to Grim. I couldn't really figure out what the theme would have been for Yellow Comets, just to like give him like this really strong attack power, but some kind of weakness. And the Bolt Guard, which were the new Black Hole COs, two of them were copies of Black and Adder, but just slightly different. Kindle felt very unique, although she kind of feels like a better Lash sometimes. Not 100%, but I could kind of see the similarity, but she still felt like something new. And Von Bolt felt like a very watered down Sturm.
Yeah,
but,
Von Bolt, I didn't like him at all.
I
compared to
just don't think
Sturm.
Von Bolt is as good as a villain as Sturm, right?
Yeah.
The COs were very hit and miss, just like the story mode of Dual Strike.
To give a positive take on it, though, one of the positives is compared to the new COs added in Advanced Wars 1 and 2, there isn't really an overwhelmingly broken commander that was added in Dual Strike. So you could tell that they are at least looked more at the competitive balance, and they didn't add something that was you'll spawn Neo tanks on every city here. Every one of them is still relatively tame.
There are still some buffs and nerfs and things left untouched that I still dislike. Like for example, going down the list, Max, he doesn't get movement on his powers anymore.
Well, he used to be broken. I think that's why they did it. He was most broken and
well, in Advanced Wars 1 he was broken.
Yeah,
Advanced
in the
Wars
first
2 Yeah, Advance Wars 2, I could see him like the most balanced, and then Advance Wars 3 just took away his movement. That's just like, oh, like why? Sammy's infantry attack boost was nerfed, but she could still capture, so not that much of a change. Olaf, I think I said this earlier. Yeah, they completely reworked Olaf. Like as we said, Snow. As we mentioned, Dual Strike being an aggressive meta game, Snow doesn't even slow you down anymore. Instead, all it does is just make you consume fuel twice. So, yeah, you can't trap units anymore, and you can't watch them like slosh through snow anymore. They'll just move through just fine. It's just that it'll just double the fuel, which doesn't seem to impact so much. So they made him more aggressive by like giving him like a 20% attack boost in snow. And, it's if it was a new CO, I'd probably be completely fine with that. But the fact that it was Olaf and they like completely reworked him just to make sure that he keeps the game like aggressive, he doesn't feel like the same CO.
You think they maybe balanced all of those things because of tag powers in mind? They were trying to get rid of that because, like, how broken would it be if you can, go twice, go twice with Eagle, then go Olaf for a third turn, and then make sure all the units are slowed afterwards.
Or what about Olaf and then Drake?
Yeah. You can end it on snow. I mean,
no. You start off with. Oh wait, or maybe you start off with draining the fuel and then you turn it to snow.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the tag power has to be the reason, right?
Well, that way. If you look at it from the developer's point of view, sometimes they don't have as much experience like what we have, and like there's decades now of like game balance and people strategizing the game. I think from their point of view, they probably also had some beta testers, or they had some feelers out that said, "Oh, how do you feel about Advance Wars 2?" I think they might have also had complaints. It's like, that Olaf guy, it's kind of annoying that your units can't move when he uses his powers. I think if enough people, just a few people complain, they might be like, yeah, just take out that, just give him something else, and they did the fuel thing instead. So it's hard to tell why exactly the developers did it.
Yeah, they probably thought it was, I believe the terminology goes around with anti-fun and anti-fun mechanics, and they wanted to make it feel just not so bad to the opponent. But I kind of like anti-fun because it's really fun when you do it. It's just shitty on the receiving end.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, the thing with Olaf that always kind of... He's clearly a highly ranked CO, but he doesn't get any day-to-day. So as annoying as the snow is, it comes at the trade-off of... It's not like you're taking 10% extra damage or 20% extra damage day-to-day. So... to me, I'm generally very opposed to anti-fun mechanics in games just in general. And, I have my own little crusade against them in, the game I'm developing. But in terms of, and that's something I'm very, sensitive to. But I really don't mind Olaf too much because of that. His regular CO power is just ordinary snow, which I don't think snow by itself it's not a superly common used ability because his super is just so much better for that 2 extra damage. But it's not the snow itself that's really annoying, it's just the damage and the snow. But I think coming at the expense of him not having a day-to-day, it's more or less fine in my mind.
Things are pretty powerful in the overall scheme of things. I think one of my favorite commanders in this game, besides Sasha, because she's my wife, is Kendall. I actually really liked Kendall. I thought she was so fun to just spam your little... I mean, that's probably the same reason why I like Sasha. Just spamming your little power over and over again. To me, it was just so funny. Oh, God, I loved it. But she looked like Ronald McDonald, which was a downside for me.
Some people... I heard some jokes about like how Kendall and Cole are like related and like...
No,
like,
yeah.
They're both,
that's a theory, right?
Right?
Yeah, they both have the red.
As like an evil Marge Simpson.
I see that.
Yeah, definitely. She has.
And I used to think Von Bolt was Sturm unmasked, and he got so injured that he's in a wheelchair. But no, it's just.
Did we talk about that? Sturm was just so much cooler.
Sturm had a mask, and he was just so mysterious.
Sturm's?
And I think the fact that like Von Bolt, like he didn't have a mask, he just had something covering his head. The mystery factor that just killed it.
You only see him in like 2 missions, don't you? Like literally only 2.
Yeah, only 2 missions, but he does have like a lot of dialogue and cutscenes. Yeah, it was just, I guess, if we were to compare Von Bolt to Sturm, Von Bolt is just a letdown. If we're gonna put Von Bolt in a vacuum, he's got like a. First off, his Theo theme, it's a hit or miss. It's a miss, complete miss for me.
Von Bolt in general is a miss for me.
His day-to-day, yeah, I guess okay. Feels kind of small, but it's actually pretty strong. And then you look at his Ex Machina. Again, I'm sorry to compare Von Bolt with Sturm so much, but it just screams I'm trying to be Sturm by having like this meteor strike-esque power, and it doesn't really do.
It hurts his own units.
Yeah, it hurts his own units. It's also, I think Sturm does that too, but it's not as effective or as satisfying as a meteor strike. So, yeah, it was just slightly disappointing to have.
I did think like Hawk was kind of cool though.
Hawk should have been the final boss.
I would have liked that.
I'm actually writing a fan fiction that's supposed to give you a mission that explains why Hawk isn't the leader of the black hole. It's not canon. It's just a story. It's just something I want to fix and make myself happy.
Wow, please do.
I had the exact same response from someone else. They said anything would be better at this point.
Even the name Hawk is just like, yeah, he's badass.
Mm-hmm. I always thought he was related to Eagle when I was younger.
Yeah, it's interesting here that Hawk is kind of like the anti-Andy in that, you know, he repairs, but he also does a little damage. That's just how I kind of think of him. In the hard mode of Advanced Wars 2, you get like this seemingly out of nowhere mission that wasn't in the normal mode, and then it's just Hawk saying that he wants to challenge Andy specifically. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, I do see him as like obviously not the main antagonist because it's Sturm, but you're right. He's almost like an anti-hero antagonist sort of thing, counter to Andy. Whereas, you know, you're right, Hawk and Eagle, you might think that they're like counters to each other in some way, but Eagle is very specifically air units, and Hawk, you know, he has no similar sort of theming to him.
Yeah, and he just looked similar to me with his hair.
Well, he looks like, what's his name from Full Metal Alchemist?
The Scar guy?
Yeah, Scar. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so
guess
funny.
To move on to one other thing really quick about the series as a whole, I think it's also important to mention around this time, Fire Emblem, I've been trying to pull up the sales numbers, I had them before, but I don't see them, but Fire Emblem is starting to pick up more and more steam. And Intelligent Systems has a lot of IPs, like they're all their different children. And then all of a sudden, Fire Emblem around this time is really, it's shining more and more, and it's starting to pick up steam. So I think that as we're going to continue on in a bit, I think that that's going to become a recurring theme as Fire Emblem starts becoming the amazing cash cow and the focus of Intelligent Systems.
It's the waifus, man.
Yeah, it's a waifu simulator.
It didn't get there yet. But it's I guess in comparison to like Advance Wars, like your units just feel expendable, and you know the COs feel like they're just like chilling at an HQ or whatever, just yelling orders at like troops. And in Fire Emblem, they you know, the characters like actually, you know, matter to you. Like if you lose your favorite character, they die unless you reset the game. Like if you reset the game like the little jet you are. I'm sorry, but yeah, if you like reset the game, then yeah, that's the only way to save them. But it makes you want to, like, you know, treasure them a bit more. And also, this is another thing. I'm sorry.
Oh, you go on. I thought you were ending. Never mind.
And there was another thing that what a friend of mine said about Fire Emblem. I think it was like Fire Emblem 7, the first one for not the first one for Game Boy, but I think it was like the first one for the Western audience. It was just called Fire Emblem. He says that the female characters in Fire Emblem 7 feel like actual characters instead of just something that make guys go, oh, I want this person in my dreams, or something like that.
Yeah, they tried to actually make characters instead of waifu, what we have nowadays, which is what they're trying to do with Fire Emblem is just
Waifu
waifus.
Emblem.
Yeah.
If only I could date
Honestly,
now.
One of the major things that helped Fire Emblem really overtake Advance Wars as far as popularity and interest in the West was honestly because Fire Emblem got 2 inclusions of characters in Smash Brothers Melee.
Right?
Almost every
That was big.
That is also
yeah.
true.
This cool guy with the sword. Oh, it's from Fire Emblem. What's that?
I've always
That is
wanted
true.
Andy in Smash. I was saying that when I
I
was
want
younger.
Sammy in Smash.
Dude, Andy with the wrench. Come on.
No, Sammy with an
Come
SMG.
on.
No, no.
They wouldn't do
know.
that.
I will fight. I will fight you to the
Pulls out a
death.
gat.
Sammy
God.
should be. Sammy
You
should
want
be the.
Sammy with the old
I want
click clack and smash, dude?
I will click clack and smash you if you say that you want Andy over Sammy and Smash Art. Okay.
Andy's great, dude. He's perfect. He's got a little
Like
wrench.
I understand he could be the mascot. Yes, I understand how the
Yeah.
mascot potential of Andy, but Sammy, the appeal that most of the, I mean,
Or
it's more
Sturm.
than
How
just
about
the,
that?
it's more what?
Sturm.
How
That
is
is
Sturm?
Yeah, dude, you hit that smash
what
ball and a
moveset?
meteor comes and hits the goal field.
It's the goal, maybe,
Yeah.
but personally, I think Sammy would have been a better advocate. I feel like Sammy's more popular.
I remember seeing the assist trophy in Brawl that Advance Wars got. I saw that before I ever played Advance Wars, and it was a long time before I ever connected the two. I would happen to be playing Brawl, like, for some reason later. I was like, holy shit, wait, were those Advance Wars tanks? Like, I didn't even connect the two. Dude, that's what we got instead of an actual character.
That's all we got.
Yeah.
All we got were assist trophies and spirits in Ultimate, which I do have the Andy spirit in Ultimate.
What does
Yeah, it's
that do?
unfortunate.
I don't know, just like a tiny buff to wild
Are
custom
those the
multiplayer
sticker
modes.
things that you put on?
Yeah, the
buff?
sticker
Right.
things, and they give some buffs to like World of Light, and if you allow them in some versus modes. But I don't see a lot of people play with spirits, especially since you've got to like unlock them too and like level them up in like other game modes. But which there's like already so much to do in Smash Ultimate.
While we're still on DS, I just also wanted to quickly mention, I don't know if it was a sign that they were putting less effort into the development of certain art assets or other things, because that's just, I'm not sure. But as far as the battle animations go, they put way less effort into the DS battle animations. For example, there's Uzium. Uzium doesn't move, it just flashes on the screen. It doesn't have like a movement animation thing for the battles. Mega Tanks, they don't have a movement animation, they don't even drive back and forth. The only thing that changes just like the when it fires and stuff. And they're generally just recolors for each country, I think, as well, except Black Hole doesn't even have units in the unit. And Black Boats, I think they're all just perfect recolors, and as far as I can remember, I don't think those move at all. Black Bombs, the next unit that DS added, they don't move at all. There's no animation for those. Stealths, the next unit, they don't move at all, and they just have this. So I think those are all of the new units, and their animation was almost nothing.
Wasn't there? I don't know if
They
I'm the
added
only one that
carriers
noticed this.
and pipe runners too,
I don't know if
man.
I'm the only one that noticed this, but I feel like when you're entering the battle animation and you're like zoomed out, then you start to pan in. Usually there's like 5 per group in like a animation, but wasn't there like a 6th one that was just like off screen or something? It just really threw me off because, you know, if we're to look at Advance Wars, 2 HP is like per guy per group or per tank, because, you know, 10 HP you just see like 5 tanks, 8 HP you see 4 tanks. The battle animations of Dual Strike, every once in a while I notice that there's like a 6 unit that's just sitting off on the edge, and it just felt very out of place because it's like, where's the math to this? Like, how does 6 divide into 10 unless we're like adding decimals to it?
Yeah, I don't think I ever noticed that actually.
I'm the
I'll have
only
to look
one?
for that. Possibly. I don't know if you guys have.
I think it's easy to spot with maybe infantry, but I definitely do recall seeing a 6 unit in a 5 man group for some reason.
Well, how would you guys rate Dual Strike compared to every other Advance Wars game?
I like.
Probably my least favorite game.
Wow.
But I don't hate it. I don't hate it. It's just like if I had to put Advance Wars 2, Dual Strike, and Tiny Wars, and like put them all in a list from what I would play the most to what I would play the least, Dual Strike is what I would play the least. I'm sorry, Art.
But just the console games though, not the like I wouldn't count Advance Wars by web.
Just those 4. Like I said, just those 4. Advance Wars 1, 2, Dual Strike, and
You meant Days of Ruin.
yeah, and Days of Ruin.
Oh, okay. When you said Tiny Wars, I assumed it was.
Did I say Tiny Wars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am so sorry.
No, you're
Dual Strike and Days of Ruin.
I get you.
1, 2, Dual Strike, Days of Ruin, Dual Strike, least preferred to play.
I like Rachel's theme.
Oh, it's a banger.
I
And
feel bad for Jake whenever I hear Rachel.
they made Jess look like David Bowie.
I love David Bowie.
I have to look that up.
They gave her that.
I kind of
like,
know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they gave her that like slick back look.
But that's also just because I know some other things that David like. I don't know if any of you guys watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. They have a character in there that's pretty similar to David Bowie too.
Songwriter and actor. Okay.
Kira Yoshi. Well, that's whatever. I want to get off topic.
Some of the images showed up and like I could see it.
What do you guys rate
Thin
for
wet
all
dude.
of your games?
I wanted to touch on here because Jake is a DS addition. So let's throw this in here. I feel like Jake is Intelligent Systems apologizing to me personally for making Grit so bonkers. And Jake is them saying like, look, this is what Grit always should have been. Yeah, you get the additional indirect range with your power, but you don't get it as part of your day-to-day. And that's the thing that drives me so crazy about Grit, is the additional range on his day-to-day.
Yeah.
So you know what?
I hate
Intelligent
playing against
Systems
Grit.
apology accepted. Except frickin' Advance Wars by Web uses the Advance Wars 2 stat. Well, no, Grit always has that, huh? But still, I hate Grit. That's my.
I hate Grit too. He's the most obnoxious character, I think.
I'd rather fight a
play
hawk,
against.
you know? I'd rather fight.
Anybody that just builds nothing but artillery and infantry the whole game is just like sleep. I sleep.
Yeah, I have 3/4 of the map, but he's just slowly building up artillery.
Yeah. It's like like I have to do all the work to play around him. That's the annoying part. He just gets to sit there, and go, la, la, la. Oh, infantry, artillery, move you there, easy. And I have to sit here and I gotta think like 20 times more than him. I'm like, okay, can't go there. It's like I'm playing
Black bombs,
Minesweeper.
bro. Black bombs. But they're so expensive though.
They're banned in League games though.
Yeah, not if they're bad.
Oh,
but-
you are talking about League. I was talking about Dual Strike.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
true.
Dual Strike, I think Dual Strike absolutely needs the players to decide, okay, we're gonna play, but we're not gonna play with these certain things, like we mentioned before. I think
House
Dual
rules.
Strike absolutely needs that.
yeah,
Because
think
if you're playing with other people and you don't know what you're doing, it's kind of a mess if you don't know what you're doing.
I think you can
True.
house rules with friends because, yeah, you're with your friends. Like, you're there face to face. You're probably not going to screw your buddy over like that. But when it comes to, more anonymous play online, look, I get it. They want to win. So they're going to play the powerful thing because they want to win. And it's not really, a player's fault for playing a good unit or a good character. But yeah, I hate Grit.
Yeah.
It's just like me playing Bayonetta in Smash 4. I didn't play her because she was broken. I played her because I fucking love the Bayonetta games.
That's true. I love Bayonetta, but that's the problem, right? She was so meta, everybody hated her.
She was so-
I was
she
the
was
same
so-
way. I was the same way.
I'm also
I loved her
a
in the
little
games.
disappointed that they added a new naval unit or 2 new naval units, right, to
Yeah.
DS, and naval's still just pointless.
Black Boat's good. That's
I
The,
like
the
the
Black Boat is good, but
arguably-
that's not really like a
Yeah.
naval. It is a naval unit because it is at sea, but You're not
Yeah, I
taking
get you,
the
like a
black
fighting
boat.
one.
Yeah, you're not taking the black boat because it's like it
I do
makes
like the
naval
idea of like a
gameplay
support,
interesting.
though. Like the idea of a supporting Navy unit is kind of cool. I mean, that's where the it's not like based off a real thing, right? It's like literally like a robot, like
Yeah,
robot
it's got funky
arms
little
and,
arms. So when you look at the
and
sprite on the map, and because I had never played DS, I had never like seen the battle animation for the black boat. All I saw was the Advance Wars by Web map animation, and I didn't know it had arms. So like it looks like a mouth. It looks like a mouth that's opening up. So the,
Oh,
the
that's
black boat
interesting.
on the map, you can't unsee it now that I've mentioned it. The black boat on the
Yeah.
map just looks like it's like opening its lips and like saying something.
That's
I'm gonna
great.
bite ya.
I do
nom.
think the black boat's one of the coolest ones because the carrier was. I mean, obviously, it's like the most expensive.
And like
Literally.
the most pointless.
It's
And if there were, I think the biggest problems with Navy units are two things. One, the price. Two, the less interaction and accessibility they have on some maps
All right.
compared to, like, say, air units.
This isn't like a DS thing, but I'll ask you guys now anyway. How would you feel if cruisers, simple change, A, allow them to travel on shallow water like shoals, and B, allow them to use their deck gun on any unit within one tile? It wouldn't do a lot of damage, it would basically be an AA, but they could be fire support along the coast. Or they could do a tiny amount of damage to other ships at sea.
still not buying it.
Oh, still not buying it, but wouldn't it be slightly less useless?
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I mean, any kind of improvement's better than its current state. Its
Yeah.
it doesn't. It feels sometimes on a lot of maps like you're playing two different things. Like the naval part of the map and the land part of the map, there usually isn't that much interaction.
Yeah.
Until you have battleships, and if you have protected battleships, you're usually already winning by that point, and then it just becomes kind of obnoxious.
So I will say, in my grand strategy cast, because, and it's a very unusual game, that's not your typical Advance Wars game, but because it's such a large map with lots of income and plenty of sea, and like you need to go by sea in order to get some of those islands, it's really cool to have fleets of ships going around supporting each other. You got battleships firing on land, but then you've got some subs that are threatening the battleships out at sea, so you need some cruisers, and you gotta refuel with some black boats. Like, it actually works, and it feels good, and it makes sense, but that's, you can only do that when you've got like 50,000 in income per day, so that you can actually afford those boats. And you need, the impetus of like capturing islands by boat in actual naval invasions. And it's just really unfortunate that, like, Drake is this naval-based CO, and even playing as Drake, it's not like, oh, he's playing as Drake, maybe he's gonna build a boat on this map. No, because there's just no point to build a boat, period.
Yeah, I really love Drake, so it does kind of hurt, but
There's
don't
a map on Advance Wars by Web that is high funds, heavy naval, called Covenant of the Lost, and I've played it a few times. I suck in high funds, so I didn't really get much, but it's interesting because the airport is kind of like far off on its own island, and you need a lander or a black boat to like capture that airport. And there's like, I believe there's 3 ports that each player can have, and everything's high fun, so you're just going to get double income. And the few times I've played it, it's just really fun to like just have so much more interaction with the Navy units. It's not that we don't like Navy units, it's just that they can't provide much to what other units can do.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
map's
they're too
just gotta be
expensive.
designed around it. I want
They
to.
were-
My dream is to one day make like the perfect map that has the perfect balance of land, air, and even sea. But that's
In a
not going
perfect
to be
world.
easy to pull off.
It's not going to
Yeah.
be easy to do. Naval units just need more interaction. That's how I think we can solve the
I
naval unit
think
problem.
you just need a Navy commander that's good with Navy units, and his special power is just Navy units are cheaper. And then that's all it.
Also makes it easier because you have double income for for cities, and you see more battleships in high funds than you do standard as well.
Mm.
I think if they were cheaper, it would help a lot as well.
I mean, I think battleships are fine. I mean, I think that they're probably the only Navy unit I'll ever buy.
Yeah, it's just crazy that they're basically a rocket.
Unless you need black boats or whatever, but that's map dependent.
Really, it's just, you want to, if there's a port in an ideal position, maybe you build the battleship on that port as area denial. But at that point, you're buying it as an artillery piece, not really as a boat.
Yeah, it's more like fuck you money, really.
Yeah, the battleship flex.
At the same time, it can go on completely different tiles than the rocket can or artillery can. So sometimes you have different options depending on the map. So rockets are, you can only go on these land tiles, but then if you're a battleship, if you have a lot of places you can move to, then it's a lot more maneuverable than a rocket is a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's true. You can think of it as a moving rocket. It also, keep a black boat next to it. It's pretty great.
So, not to spend, let's not spend too much time on this, but did any of you guys play the Battalion War games?
Sadly,
I have the first one that I played.
Okay, you're the only one with any experience. I remember seeing that and not realizing that they were like tangentially related. And I just remember thinking like, Battalion Wars, that seems pretty similar to Advance Wars. I bet Nintendo's gonna sue these guys. And, well, I was a dumb kid.
I remember back in the day I had a Nintendo Power subscription, and they were talking about the sequel to Advance Wars. And so I was like, oh, that sounds so cool. It's going to be on the GameCube. It'll be like a console version instead of the handheld. And it was Battalion Wars. And so I got it. I own it back here still on my shelf. And I'm just like, what is this?
I played the second one on the Wii. I know some people liked it. I absolutely hated it. I thought the art was awful. I thought the gameplay, which is the most important to me, was awful. I hate everything about it. At most, I was like, I would play this maybe if I had nothing else to do. At most, that's how I felt about it.
It was terrible. I agree. I don't know what it had to do with Advance Wars. Seemingly nothing. It just was a third-person shooter where you could like swap to different units and play as different units kind of like real time. There was really no strategy to it. It was basically just a shooting game.
I wonder if Nintendo and especially Intelligent Systems saw the sales and the poor reception to Battalion Wars 1 and 2. I wonder if that affected their thoughts, like, what's the point of making more Wars games when we can make Fire Emblem or other games? I wonder if the mediocre reception of those affected
that. Is tragic if that's true, because, I mean, I think any Advance Wars fan, just the fact that you guys haven't played it, I think speaks volumes on how we feel about Battalion Wars. It shouldn't even be considered in the same thing when you really think about it. It's so different. It's nothing like gameplay, style, art, everything. It's just so different from Advance Wars. It's just odd. It's a very odd game.
There's one person on the Discord server for Advance Wars by Web that absolutely loves Battalion Wars, and if they hear this part, they're going to be in the comments like, what do you mean? This game was amazing. I was a top thing in their multiplayer.
I don't think it has to do with how good Battalion Wars is. I think the fact that you don't see Advanced Wars in Battalion Wars. Like, I haven't played any of the games, but just seeing what it looks like, I mean, like, yeah, you could say, like, they got foot soldiers. But I think one thing that, like, makes Advanced Wars stands out is, like, a turn-based strategy game. And Battalion Wars just feels like looks and probably feels like a completely different game style, game genre.
Is. Yeah, it's just like a shooting game.
Yeah, real time compared to turn-based.
Yeah, like you said, like, it didn't look like there was much strategy to it.
No, you could probably solo a lot of stuff just being good at like shooting or whatever. So the strategy kind of falls apart at that point.
Battalion Wars was a lot closer to that one awful mini game that was in Dual Strike, where you have the little mini unit and you're shooting the little plinking little. I don't know if you played that little mini game in it.
I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it, but it was a nice little break from it. It was a nice little break from it.
Wars than Advanced Wars was.
Yeah, that was like more Battalion Wars. It's
I honestly didn't even realize there was a second Battalion Wars. I thought that game was dead, and I can't believe they made a second one. I guess it had some sort of success though, because I mean, why would they make a second one? I really don't know.
I bought it because I was like, oh, they made a sequel, so it must be pretty good then. But it's like, no, apparently not.
They made a sequel, so it must be pretty good.
I was hopeful. I liked Advanced Wars.
I am going to quote that. They made a sequel, so it must be pretty good.
You know, it's so funny, but that's like how movies work nowadays, right? That's why they're so afraid to make like original movies. They just make sequels, because that's why people watch the sequels, because they're just like, well, no, that's how they trick you. I remember there was this god-awful Wii game called Anubis 2, and my mother bought it for me for Christmas. And I remember going to her like, what is this? I have no idea what this is. Why'd you get this? I was like, well, it has to be good. They've made 2 of them, right? So that you play it, and it's like the worst game ever. And then I look it up online. There's not even a first one. There's not an Anubis one.
The hell?
It's literally just a standalone title, and it's just a marketing tactic. It's exactly what you're saying. It's a tactic that they use. They make the sequel, and you just assume that it's better, because why else would they make a second one? Apparently, it fucking works. It's a whole marketing thing, dude. It's crazy. But yeah, no, Battalion Wars.
Nothing like Advanced Wars.
No, that's like you said. Yeah, it has no resemblance to the franchise, and that's why I don't like it. Maybe if it had a different name, I wouldn't care so much. But because it was said in that Nintendo Power that it was a sequel being made by all, it's just a disaster to me. I'm like, what
marketing.
Is this?
You were just it was just the marketing that was the little push that it probably had.
That's why Nintendo Power is gone. No, not really.
Not really.
Not really. I'm just kidding. But yeah. Well, that's all I gotta say about Battalion Wars.
All right, yeah, we don't need to put too much salt in the wound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it came out. What year was that? 2005. Yeah, that's the same year as Dual Strike, wasn't it? That's odd.
The first one was 2005 on the GameCube.
Yeah, that's really weird.
And then there was still no Advance Wars. Then there was Battalion Wars 2 in 2007. And then Days of Ruin was 2008. I think that's a good opportunity for us to talk about Advance Wars Days of Ruin.
All right, boys, buckle in your seatbelts. I'm about to take all of us on a wild-ass ride.
Yeah. And
you can tell I love this game.
Yes,
you can tell I love this game.
I gotta be honest with you. I'm probably not the only one as well, but I look at that art style and I'm like, this is not Advance Wars. Ugh.
I think there is a big backstory to that before you get started, because I know I'm not going to be able to stop you once you get started, buddy. So I'm going to say some stuff first. So I think originally the idea that they made that game dark and edgy on purpose because they actually believed that's what the Western audience wants. So the first 3 Advance Wars games in the main series, they were kind of based around selling in Japan, because it was, a lot of the times what the Japanese companies do. But they noticed that for the Advance Wars series, a large portion of it, if not the majority, was actually sold in the West. So they had the impression that the more realistic and edgy kind of war themes were exactly what the West wanted. So they made Days of Ruin specifically to cater to the West. That was their goal, and that's why the game looks that way. And now, Advanced Warrior. I just wanted to say that. That's it.
That's completely fine. I will note the flaws. Some are my opinion, so that's understandable. I won't just boast about it so much. But I will say that my first impression of Advance Wars Days of Ruin was literally through a commercial. Like, I was already into Advance Wars, but I didn't play 2 and Dual Strike at that time, so yeah. But I remember I saw trailers of it, and there was just like some gameplay footage. It said Advance Wars, so I was just like, ooh. It's like, what's this? And unlike Battalion Wars, it was actually a turn-based strategy game. At least they had that, and not Battalion Wars, so they had that for them. So I was just like, ooh, it's like a new Advance Wars game, and it actually was an Advance Wars game. So it wasn't until like a few years later until I actually got to play it. The first thing that did kind of suck about it was that it wasn't a continuation from Dual Strike. Like, there's no Andy, there's no Jake, there's no Orange Star or Black Hole. It was literally just like an entirely new continuity. Unless you have the theory that Sturm just came back and just did like a disastrous meteor strike on the entire Earth. And then through the rubble and all, just like had all these new these new characters and like new units, new armies. But it at least felt like it was something new to me personally. Like I was like kind of into it, and I wanted to see like what direction they're going with this. It was a little bit scary when I first saw a bike. I was like, I'm sorry, bikes? Do they capture? Oh my god, they do capture. It's just like,
God,
what the
capture.
infantry on wheels?
And their price was so cheap.
Best unit in the game. No, not really.
It's a contender.
New characters, new armies, new units, and completely different mechanics. So we talked about the power meters, but here we got CO zones. I'm just gonna say, I think, please don't be mean to me in the comments. I think Days of Ruin is probably the most balanced Advance Wars game out of the four. It's just my opinion. Anyone have any rebuttals or?
I mean,
No?
I think Dual Strike is the most balanced after you remove this, and this, and then it's perfect.
Carrot, Red.
I did not play Days of Ruin. I don't know. I just remember looking at it and seeing that aesthetic, and like going back to Battalion Wars, I really don't like the character designs too much there. And I think they just look weird and funky, and I think the same is also true for... I didn't, especially as a kid, well, I wasn't really a kid, I was in high school at this point, I was 16. I didn't like how edgy it was trying to be. It was, teenagers tend to like edgy things, but I was always kind of like running a little counter to that, like, alright buddy, you're trying a little too hard, okay? Like, we get it. There's a terrible tragedy and now humanity is all but extinct and the world is nothing but war. Like, okay, we get it. And then there was already like a cutesy anime aesthetic that I really dug about Advance Wars, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who felt this way. So the fact that they went with quote-unquote more realistic, anime looking ass characters, I don't know, it never appealed to me, so I have zero experience with it. I don't know. I haven't even like watched a Let's Play of it, to be honest.
Oh yeah, you go. Red Halo, your experience of Days of Ruin.
Yeah, so I think that it's interesting that it's incredibly divisive in the community, whether you prefer the first three Advance Wars or Days of Ruin. There's almost everybody says I prefer A or B.
But here's the thing, there's 3 of one, and there was only 1 of the other.
Well, they're kind of are clumped together though, because you talk about story-wise, the first 3 had continuity, the same characters, except for some new ones. But then they're kind of 2 separate universes. That mechanically, there's 2 different kinds of mechanics. They're similar but different. There's according to some of these quotes I'm getting from some of the people that made it, the people at Intelligent Systems got feedback, and I quote, it says, they were getting comments from people stating, we like the game, we love the game, but it's the same thing. So then they wanted to change it up, and they were trying to, like somebody else said earlier, they wanted to kind of cater it to the Western market, hypothetically. So that was this was their effort, and some people like it a lot better, some people don't, and I think it's kind of just people's subjective kind of opinions. Personally, I liked Dual Strike way more than Days of Ruin. I played a lot of Dual Strike. I played through Days of Ruin twice, and then I never picked it up again.
Yeah, and honestly, there wasn't that much replayability from Days of Ruin. I will admit, there's no hard campaign. It was just one campaign, a couple trial maps, no war room, which also sucks. Like, I feel like that's the only thing you could do. You could do campaign, trial maps, or like first AI or something. So that was definitely a big weakness. What else was I going to say? There's like new units. Like even the infantry. Like infantry were 1500 in Days of Ruin, and mechs are 2500. Anti-airs are also 7000, but they're still anti-airs. They're still tanks. Like tanks still beat anti-airs. Anti-airs still beat copters. Copters still beat tanks. So it's still Advanced Wars. Like anyone who's played Advanced Wars and like never played. I almost said Dual Strike. Never played Days of Ruin. They'll at least recognize some of the mechanics. But I think one of the biggest changes that definitely may stir some people away is how you use powers. They kind of reverted back to only having a single power, but your power gain isn't global. Your power gain just comes from one certain CO, and then that CO goes into a unit, and that unit is what has to go into the fray and actually get damage inside of their CO zone to get that power. So it's drastically very different, I will admit. For better or for worse, I think that's just an opinion on the player.
I think maybe
they
there
had
is
some cool units.
a bit of a
Some new units that were
disservice
good.
by calling it Advance Wars, because when you hear that, you have such an expectation. At least that was kind of my thing. If they had called it something slightly different, then I definitely wouldn't have had the Advance Wars name to carry it, to give it as much publicity. But I don't know. I think also, historically, looking back on it, there's kind of a sour taste in my mouth and probably a lot of people's mouths that this was the last Advance Wars game that we ever got. We didn't get, Advance Wars. Obviously, we have a reboot theoretically coming out in the future now, but between 2005 when DS came out, 2008 when Days of Ruin came out, and then Days of Ruin was the last thing. 2008, 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Maybe it'll come out in 22. Maybe and that's just a reboot. That's not even a new game. And so it's there's kind of a feeling, whether it's true or not, that maybe Days of Ruin is the thing that finally killed off Advance Wars. And that's just not a good feeling. And I don't know what happened behind the scenes, so maybe I'm completely wrong about that. And maybe, the community writ large is wrong about that. But I think that's a feeling that a lot of people had. And I don't think that certainly doesn't do Days of Ruin any favors either.
Intelligent Systems actually had some interviews where they were talking to people and they brought up the Wars games and they actually mentioned some of it. I guess I could mention this now pretty briefly.
Please do.
So first I'll mention some of the sales data. So Dual Strike, which is before Days of Ruin, had 35,000 copies sold in the first 10 weeks in Japan. So if you compare it to this graph that I posted of the Fire Emblem sales, it's just a tiny fraction of that. The first 10 weeks they only sold 35,000. So it makes sense to. So when they switched to when they switched over to Days of Ruin, I feel like they had to think, well, we need better sales than this. So, and we're not selling in Japan anyway. So Days of Ruin didn't come out in Japan until 2013 as a online thing for the 3DS. So it was pretty much they were just focused as a Western game. And when I mentioned earlier, when between Advance Wars 2 and DS, where it was an overcorrection, where Advance Wars 2 was a little defensive and people would complain about unit walls. So they said, okay, super aggressive, just break through this and that. And I feel like they overcorrected from Dual Strike a bit, and then they kind of stripped away the second superpower. So now we were back to Advance Wars 1 style. And all of a sudden, a lot of the uniqueness that each commander gave to their units, a lot of that was taken away. Certain that the power system wasn't as strong. You kind of lost a lot of the rubber band mechanic of the meter that was in the earlier games. That was gone. So it was more inherently balanced, but because it was so balanced, it also is less flavorful and colorful. So if you like one more than the other, that's fine. But as far as sales data, both of them probably still made a profit. But now I'm going to say something everybody in the community hates. I've said it a few times, and people, every single time I say it, I feel like people give me like the devil eyes, like, what's wrong with you? If I was the head of intelligence systems at this time, personally, I would have done the exact same thing. I would have never bothered to make another Wars game again. Fire Emblem blows it out of the water in sales. So, Days of Ruin sold 81,000 copies in January after its release in the West, and 50,000 to bring its total of 130,000 sales. Now, Fire Emblem, it's around the same time, a few years before and after, had sold nearly 1 million, and then 870,000, 540,000, 490,000, 610,000. Then they had one kind of a failure in comparison. But that was only in Japan. They don't have European sales data with that. Before it really blew up. So, from Intelligent Systems' point of view, if we're making games, if we have to have our developers making something, why don't we just make as much Fire Emblem stuff as possible, because there's no market out there for Advance Wars. And then they combine that with the terrible marketing for Advance Wars, and the terrible timing that Advance Wars had, and the other issues where you had to have house rules in order to make it balanced and fun for a lot of people. And the bad multiplayer at the time, the fact that there were no patches, so the really broken commanders weren't patched out, and if you played online, you only played a few good ones. So I think a combination of all this, as well as there was an interview with Intelligent Systems, where somebody brought up, oh, what about the War series? And they said, oh yeah, we love the War series. But one of the issues is that unlike Fire Emblem, all the units are all just people, and they have connections and romance and things between each other. They said, we don't know how to bring that same aspect, which is so key to Fire Emblem's success, to Advance Wars, when you just have tanks and exchangeable soldiers that all look the same.
Yeah, so, like I said, like COs just like feeling like they're just in the background and like not actually on the battlefield.
Yeah. So a combination of all this, I feel, and also I think the Wii games came afterwards, and those were also just miserable overall. So I think all of this just spelled the kind of the death for Advance Wars.
I do think that there could have been a more Wargroove-like strategy with, you have a little bit of it with Days of Ruin, but making the commander kind of in a playable unit in a way could have been a way to fix that. I feel like they didn't really give a full amount of effort in order to make some of the changes that made Fire Emblem successful and add to that to Advance Wars, which I think they could have made more waifus. As much as I hate to say it, they could have done things that made Fire Emblem successful and tried to apply it. They say they don't know, but I don't think that's true. I think they didn't really try even. So that's the sad truth with that. I will also say, when it comes to Days of Ruin, it's not my favorite, but I liked a lot of the stuff that they did in there. And also, all of their music tracks are insanely good for Commander themes. They're insanely good. And I love the flare unit. It's super good idea. Being able to shoot a flare to get Fog of War vision, amazing.
The fog was also changed entirely. Like, if you drove past a hidden tile, you would actually reveal the unit that it drove past.
One of the biggest because I owned the game, I bought it when it came out. I had no problem with it. To me, this looked like a fucking breath of fresh air after Battalion Wars. Let me tell you, that game was really the big. I think if Battalion Wars didn't exist, I bet you Days of Ruin actually would have sold better. Because I had a lot of friends that I played those games with, and they just were not interested in Days of Ruin because Battalion Wars was just like, it was sour to them. It just ruined it, right? They were just like, I don't even want to try it. And so I think that ruined a lot of the experience for people, when all in reality, maybe it wasn't very similar in art style and everything. And I really did miss a lot of the commanders that we all basically grew up and loved. That was a big kind of hurt to me. But I did think the game was solid all around. And even though it didn't sell well, I don't think that it deserved that. I think it should have done a little bit better, even if it was maybe the worst selling ones. I think Battalion Wars actually had a big part in that. People were basically just like, fuck this, I don't want to even try it after that. But yeah, I feel like Fire Emblem had so many good things. They never even tried to apply what made those games so successful to Advance Wars. So I think that's, I don't know, maybe it's not BS, maybe they just weren't able to figure out a way, but I don't know, I think Wargroove did it pretty well with the commanders and how they worked in. Advance Wars would be different.
I think there's a lot of merit to Battalion Wars 1, Battalion Wars 2, and then Days of Ruin, that kind of like triple threat combo being the undoing. Because you're right, it wasn't just like one, kind of mediocre game in a row. It was like 3 in a row. And I don't know, I wish they could have looked at that and then said, all right, we should go back to our roots. I get what you're saying about the sales data, but there is also something to be said from, a game company perspective and from a developer's perspective of having a more diversified portfolio of things. People might actually grow tired of Fire Emblem at some point, although that has turned out not to be true, so what do I even know? But, I think maybe it only would have sold, 100 or 200,000 copies instead of 1 or 2 million, but I do think there is something to be said about, being able to put out another game in the Advance Wars, and it's just like, look, it's the Advance Wars you know and love. And like you said, after Battalion Wars, they really needed to rebuild that goodwill. Maybe if they had done a more traditional Advance Wars and then tried to move on to Days of Ruin, they could have actually done something. Yeah,
that's
but
my
I
line
think
of thinking.
The fact that they had, I thought Battalion Wars looked cool, but I never touched it. So, what does that opinion even mean? But I think the fact that they had the 2 Battalion Wars back to back, neither of them worked, and then they tried to revolutionize the series, I think that was kind of the undoing.
They're down and they're tripling down. Like they were down, then they doubled down to the Battalion Wars 2, and then they tripled down. But I really don't think Days of Ruin was bad. I just, again, like you said, they needed to go back to that safety and comfort of why people loved and fell in love with the series in the first place. That would have been perfect.
Look,
Days of Ruin is great, but
I
should have done that later.
Nell's warm embrace, okay?
Yeah. Oh, there was no warmth in Days of Ruin. Everybody was sad and miserable. It was like living in London.
Just one mobile game alone, Fire Emblem Heroes, in the last few years, just this one mobile game, gave Nintendo $1 billion of revenue.
Oh,
it's a gacha game. It's a gacha game. What do you expect?
That's the waifu.
Like Fire Emblem Awakening and all these others had millions of sales, not counting merchandise, not counting all of the other accessories that come with all of this. Fire Emblem is a golden cow, and weebs will cut out and sell their kidney in order to get money to buy a shiny PNG of their waifu. You're saying, well, like other things. No, like it is just as much as they could work on it, they will buy it. So, I mean, from a financial point of view, there's no reason. Fire Emblem is just their golden calf. It's just amazing. It's a money printer.
Damn,
I know why Awakening was so good is because, I mean, they did it a little bit, I think, with some of the older ones, but Awakening really doubled down with the marriage and relationship system, and that's why it just boomed. Because I remember getting Fire Emblem Awakening, and it's just basically like you're just trying to marry all these girls or guys or whatever, and you get kids and stuff. So they really went with the gacha route, basically, to get you to fall in love with these girls. And that's kind of when Fire Emblem kind of started at that point, towards that route. But I don't know, I feel like the Commanders and Advance Wars had a little potential there, because they had some great cute characters with Sasha, Nell, and Sami, but I wouldn't want that in my Advance Wars. But I'm saying if this company really wanted to try, I think they probably would have tried doing that. I mean, it's not so shameless, they already do it in Fire Emblem. Yeah. But now we just have a different company completely doing it, which is WayForward for the reboot. So we don't even have intelligence systems even working on it anymore, which I don't know how you guys feel about that. It's the company that made the games isn't even really making this one.
I have a very bad feeling. I was going to get to that when we get to it. I am very, very...
Yeah. think it's about that time. Are we going to talk about the reboot?
Before we get there, I do just want to summarize. I guess it's not a wild ride. I thought I'd bring us all in, but I do just want to summarize. Although it is Advanced Wars in a way, like it's a turn-based strategy, and you still have the same units, some similar mechanics. It just, the fact that it was like a different continuity and like all these mechanical changes, in the gritty theme, like it was Advanced Wars, but it was nothing really nostalgic about it when it came to story-wise, because if we've played all three of the Advanced Wars games, like the first three before Days of Ruin, you know, like you just had a connection with all these characters, and you just wanted to see what would happen moving forward. But Days of Ruin, they just completely shut all that down, and you're just like, you know, starting from the ground up again, and you know, not everyone likes dark and gritty things, so, and it's not as colorful, so the disconnection between Days of Ruin and the Advanced Wars trilogy, I can absolutely understand that, though. The gameplay, I will say, this is just my opinion. I really like it. It's not too different for me to, like, you know, put it off as like a non-Advanced Wars game, but as we were all talking about, like Fire Emblem, like, you know, the connection with characters, it's, you know, we probably can still do that in Advanced Wars, going into Days of Ruin, but like one of you guys said, like they probably just didn't even try, or something like that. But yeah, that's all I just wanted to say about Days of Ruin. It's just
I like Days of Ruin actually a lot. I just wish that Battalion Wars didn't come before it. I actually think Days of Ruin would have been great if they tied in the older characters. They could have even done some sort of alternate reality thing, like what if Sturm won and you're just rebelling against Sturm and his empire in this dark gritty world, but still keep the same kind of graphics and theme and characters. They're just more of the underdogs who lost. I don't know, I see like Fire Emblem and you look at how they have all these different characters in each game, and it's basically just a whole different generation years and years later. They could have done something like that with Advanced Wars, where it's just like completely different setting. Like what if thing. Like Sturm actually won and he's the overlord. Now you have to rebel against him. I don't know.
That is
They
a
could have done
great
maybe-
idea.
or maybe like
Nintendo should
how do I
give
say
you
this, like-
$40 million for that idea.
Please do.
like
I'll do it for 39.
like Fire Emblem 11 and 12, or like Fire Emblem 1 and 3. They're all basically like thousands and thousands of years before Fire Emblem 13, which was Awakening.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, it's not what Days of Ruin was.
No, but I'm just saying you could just how they separate the timelines, kind of. It feels like it's completely different games each time with Fire Emblem, like different settings. That's kind of what I was saying. Like Days of Ruin could have been a little bit of a lighter tone and still connect those characters. Just, I mean, this is all theoretical. It's not going to happen. Let's be real, right? But that would have been like a cool way to try to get it to stay a little bit of along the same kind of path of, oh, I get to play my favorite character, Drake or Eagle and Olaf again. Because I think that's what people wanted after Battalion Wars. That was my main point, is Battalion Wars was so bad that the Advanced Wars fans were sitting there like, what the fuck is this? Right? We want to just see Olaf and all these guys again. So I think Days of Ruin would have been good, but I think the timing of it was wrong. You know what I mean?
Or I think
That's my opinion.
I think they could have also taken certain story elements from Fire Emblem as well. For example, in 3 houses, you could choose which of the 3 houses you want and choose how the story progresses. For example, instead of in all the other Advanced Wars, like 1 through 3, all the different nations all team up and fight against Black Hole. Maybe you could choose who you ally with, certain countries, but you can't ally with everybody. So then in the end, you have to fight Blue Moon, or you have to fight Orange Star or something. I think there's all kinds of interesting gameplay elements, or make the relationships of the characters somehow matter, that you can have certain events where you can get closer with certain commanders for extra story scenes or something else that kind of unlocks something. I think there's a lot of stuff that they could have done in the same vein as Fire Emblem.
It'd be like you're going to commander school and you get to waifu up with some of the young commander girls over there.
You see,
It's like they do in 3 houses.
some of those commander girls are awfully young, and I don't know how I don't know how I feel
What do you
about
mean?
that.
They're commanding armies. They are totally not that young. Come on.
Did you ever see that dumb parody that I didn't finish yet? I hyped it up a lot, and I learned how to code, and I made the beginning part of a demo of the Advanced Wars dating game.
Oh
Advanced
wait,
Dating
yes,
by
I
Web.
think I did see that.
It's
So-
amazing.
There's a lot more that's coming, but eventually. But I, as a joke, because we're like, this is what Advanced Wars really need. So the dating things. That's what intelligence systems said. So we say, yeah, we're gonna make a fan game about it. And you actually said the plot. You play in a commander school, and Sturm is the principal, like the person running the school, and he bans dating. So your character is trying to overthrow Sturm.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I pay good money to waifu Sasha. Just saying. But I would also say that I think they did dip their toes a little bit in the water because they did have a little bit of a romance in Dual Strike with Rachel, Sasha, and Jake. But I don't know if they were doing... I don't know what the reasoning behind that was. They just thought it was good for the story or what. Or maybe they were trying to lead into a way to add romance just like they do with Fire Emblem. I'm not sure.
I think... I was about to say, I think Fire Emblem romancing started with, like, Awakening, but,
Earlier than that, but they really got popular.
The oldest, it wasn't even, like, it was never released outside of Japan. It was Fire Emblem 4, Genealogy of the Holy War, and the way it worked is that you played as like, a bunch of ragtag group of soldiers, and these soldiers, some of them have, like, special... I guess like holy blood, which is what it was called, which grant like, strength. And what you could have done is you would like have certain characters like pair up together, and then like in the future, all their kids are grown up, and then you like play the army like with the kids. But I think it was like less about like, oh, I shipped this and that together. I think it was more about like the strategy and like what you could inherit and pass down from that. But
You're definitely
waifu Emblem, that was definitely not it at the time.
Awakening was when it turned into waifu Emblem.
Awakening, they tried to do the same thing with Fire Emblem 4, Genealogy of the Holy War,
And
where
nowadays,
it's like certain couples give out certain strengths to children, but the problem was they balanced the children so fucking terribly that it didn't matter who you paired them up with, just so long as they had a higher level, and then boom, you pop out a kid just turns out to be super OP.
Each
Anyway,
one of those kids are just made so they can have the gotcha game now, so they just keep making new waifus, basically.
I hate to be the wet blanket here, but can we get away from the awful waifu baby making gotcha game mechanics? And let's move on to another, I don't know, potentially sore subject with the Re-Bootcamp proper. So
the salt shakers?
What?
Prepare the salt shakers because
yeah,
I'm salty.
Yeah. So I'm really curious
context?
here. Yeah. What is everybody's?
Yeah, so let's...
Because I want to. This is a thing where we're celebrating Advanced Wars, right? Like, I want to be good. I want it to be happy. But
Sure, yeah.
how, I just don't know how to feel, and I don't know if I feel that way about what I see of the Re-Bootcamp. And you touched on this before already pretty significantly, that Intelligent Systems is not making the Re-Bootcamp. It's they're just kind of throwing it to this other dev party that doesn't seem to have a bunch of resources. I won't say they're untalented, but they certainly don't seem to have the talent pool that Intelligent System did or have. This weird aesthetic they got going on.
It's bizarre, actually,
and
when
we
you
don't
look
have
at their
enough
other
news.
games.
What are they doing with the gameplay? Or are they at least changing up the gameplay? We don't know. So let's kind of talk about what we feel and what we do know. and kind of see where we're at from there.
I think the first thing that like really started to hurt for Advance Wars Reboot Camp is the fact that we not only had one, but two delays. And the first one, I believe it was announced that Advance Wars Reboot Camp, I believe it was a Nintendo Direct or like E3 thing from like June. It was in June, I think June 15th or something, and like I remember like there were so many Advance Wars fans like, oh my god, like we're finally getting a quote unquote new Advance Wars game. It's albeit a reboot, but it's like, we're finally getting something new that is Advance Wars. And unlike Days of Ruin and Battalion Wars, it was actually something we're all familiar with. Like we all saw Nell, we all saw Andy, we all saw Sammy, Kambe, and we're all, it's just like, oh my god, it's like our childhood. It's like, we could finally play this game. It's like, felt like Nintendo cared. And then they said December 3rd, but then nearing December 3rd, there was an announcement saying that they wanted to fix the multiplayer of Advance Wars, and that was an understandable delay. Like obviously, like if we all just start playing Advance Wars right now, we all just had like very crappy multiplayer. Obviously, that would hurt the state and the health of the game, especially with the community. So fixing the online definitely, I can understand that. And then we got another date, and it said like April 8th, and we're just like, oh my god, it's going to be, it's finally here. Like we're all finally going to get this. They made it sound like the game was done and the game is ready. And then we were all unfortunately hit with another world event that had to do with war, especially. We all had to do with war, as like it was the Ukraine and Russia thing. Now there are some people who are wondering like, why the hell? Like they know it's not associated with the thing. Like Call of Duty would probably release a game with like war in Russia.
Oh,
so
it
like,
would so
why
play
wouldn't
to Call of Duty's advantage to do that. Yeah.
And then there was like, Call of Duty would release a war game in a time of war. Why wouldn't Advance Wars do this? Thing about Advance Wars is that in the very first game, Olaf, which I believe is the Russian stereotype character of Advance Wars, the whole plot literally starts with him invading another country. And coincidentally, Russia is already trying to invade another country. So the fact that those two just like are so coincidentally similar, obviously releasing Advance Wars at the time that happens, like people who are new to it probably playing, it's just like, wait, a Russian character stereotype invading another country during the Ukraine war is just gonna turn into disaster if they
hadn't thought about that angle of it. I thought it was just they didn't want to release it during a time of conflict, but you're right, Advance Wars 1, that
started off with a Russian stereotype invasion of another country.
Spicy.
It's very tragic. I think that it's one of those games that we've been all waiting for so long, and we almost gave up hope. I think everybody pretty much just gave up hope. Like nobody thought it would ever happen, right?
Remember
happened.
When I said that this series is cursed? We had the tragedy in 2001, and now we have this.
Yeah, the timing has always been rather unfortunate, and I think that it honestly has kept it from growing as a game, because I do think that it's one of those that I'm always surprised when I'm like, oh, you've never heard of that before? Really? Why? I wonder why. Why? How come you haven't heard of it before? Because in my eyes, it seemed such a good game. It was hard for me to believe that other people haven't even played it, let alone even heard of it. And I think the Nintendo Switch is a great console for this to be released on. I think it's pretty much perfect for Advance Wars as a series.
I think it's the first time it'll be released on a console, Advance Wars.
It was on the Wii U. I know because I downloaded off the crappy arcade or whatever that I had.
I know, but not a virtual console thing. But it's not a new game though. Like it was originally handheld. First 4 Advance Wars games all originally handheld. So Re-Bootcamp would have been officially the first time that Advance Wars would have probably seen a console like rendition to it, like not counting Famicom Wars and all those other past games, but like just the Advance Wars that we know and love.
Can't forget about Battalion Wars.
I mean,
I can.
Where's the connection? Anyways,
I wish I could forget about it.
but yeah, like the first time on the console, like it would have been big. I remember I don't use Twitter anymore. Well, I kind of like lurk around every once in a while, and I remember seeing I was looking up Advance Wars trying to find any news about it, and there was a tweet that said, "Is there anyone who's even gonna buy this game?"
That,
I remember
hurts.
seeing that, and my soul soul was like crushed. I'm like, oh man, if I was active on Twitter, I would have said it's in my name.
I wonder if it's because this is another big topic, the graphics. How do you guys feel about these very
I'm glad
toy
you brought it
sculpture
up.
3D graphics?
Because it looks like Chinese knockoff Pixar, right? It looks like it looks worse than Nintendo memes, you know?
There's a very conflicting thing with this where I want the game to succeed and I want to buy it so they make more. But then if you do that, then the message could be sent that, oh, we should make it more like this. Make another 3D one. And that's not what I want. I don't
It felt a little funny to me how like the battle animations were like, kind of like these 3D models. First off, I do want to say the mechs that they showed in the trailer, for some reason, whenever they fired their mechs, it looks like
Shooting up, aren't they?
mechs aren't. Doesn't look like they're even heavy.
Yeah.
It looks like they have
I
no weight.
think they actually shoot in the air,
They
too.
do.
People
It
who
goes
shoot
at a
they
forward.
weird
look like-
angle.
They look like I think it was from a river to a bridge, so that would make sense from that.
I think it's
like
just
from
the
mountains-
animation in general.
Yeah, but the fact that it looked like it had no weight at all, like they were just like they just showed it in recoil. I was like, oh, don't worry, that's an easy fix. That kind of turned me off. And
It's so
the fact that
bizarre.
the CO portraits are also different than the actual battle animations. Like Advance War, like the first couple of Advance Wars games, they were all similar, like 8-bit pixel, whatever those were. They looked like they were the same, but like felt like these were drawn CO portraits, and you have like these 3D units that are just battling each other. Felt felt like a separation, and the fact that Max's chin looks so damn big, like
They look like flash animations you'd find on Newgrounds as well. They don't. I don't know. I don't like it. Some people like the new CO designs, both in the aesthetics and the actual design changes. I don't like either. For me, it's really obvious they did it on a computer. Of course, they did it on a computer now. It's not. You can't really expect it to be hand drawn. But like, I can just when I look at it, I can see a template of a blank face, and then they took a mouth asset and they added it on to that blank face. If that makes sense to you guys, if you can kind of picture
it's
what
cheap.
I'm talking about. Yeah, I guess it looks cheap is what I'm saying.
Yeah. As a side note, really quick, you mentioned Newgrounds. There was actually, before I played Advance Wars, there was an Advance Wars fan game knockoff on Newgrounds that I played beforehand. I think that might have been the reason why I looked up Advance Wars, because I liked that fan game on Newgrounds, and that's, I think, why I looked it up. And
The art style is one of the best parts of the series.
So I think that it's a sign that they're just trying to reduce costs. The units,
Yeah.
they were just done in Blender, and it just looks something they thought, well, this looks adequate enough for the game. And I think the CO art, they couldn't do it for the COs because it just looks so bad. So I think that and it doesn't take that much animation to do for the COs themselves, just the reactions and different expressions when they talk. So
we all have to remember. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say really quickly. We all have to remember that Advance Wars is a children's war game. You can see how the first couple games can appeal to children.
Well, I mean, there's good 3D animation. Like, there's some games where 3D animation looks amazing. This looked like an introductory course to Blender, and it's just, I think it just is what it is. And I think part of it also is they sent it off because they just licensed it out to WayForward, so WayForward can make it. But at the end of the day, even if Advance Wars is a super success, let's say a giant success, then intelligent systems could say, hey, we're going to take the license from you, and somebody else is going to pay us more money to make the next group of games. So it's even a rocky situation for way forward. So I mean, how much development time and money are they going to put into the series if it could be taken away from them, even if it's a major success? So I feel like it's a testing of the waters and seeing if it's going to be successful, trying to make some money off of it. From what we've seen, although they didn't fix any of the problems. From what we've seen, they didn't do any balance changes from any of the videos we've seen. So all of the really broken commanders, they're still just as broken. As far as we know, Nintendo Online still has issues. There's no in-game chat from what we've seen.
For it too.
When we're picking commanders, there's no commander bans. So then, hey, why don't you just pick the most broken commanders again? There's no tier system. That's going to be an issue. The maps, as we know, if you're kind of know what you're doing, at least semi-competent, you know the mechanics. First turn advantage is pretty massive. You get up there first, and then you have to make maps to kind of balance it out. If they just have the same maps from the original games, and that's what people can play on online at first, like in any kind of quick play or anything, it's going to be broken. What is the timer system going to be like? Are they going to have the same issues that Wargroove did? There are so many potential issues that can mess up the player versus player part of Advance Wars, where even a single one of these, like if there's just no CO bans but everything else is good, then the game is still going to have a lot of issues. So personally, I don't have much hope for the player versus player for the reboot itself. I think it's going to be great to get more attention for Advance Wars. It might open up more doors in the future. I think the campaign's going to be great for a lot of players. A lot of casual players are going to love it, which is really good overall for the series. I think that's going to be great. But I personally, for the game itself, I don't have much hope for the player versus player aspect.
Yeah, and that's the thing where if I were to get it, now I don't have a Switch, but my roommate does, and maybe I would consider buying a copy of this so that I could play it, so that I could cast it, so that I could support the Advance Wars series. But, multiplayer is what I cared about. It's what I do care about. And I mentioned this kind of briefly, talking about, when I was a kid, I started entering into this MMO phase where I like to play multiplayer games. And since then, I haven't really cared too much about single-player content. I like playing against another human being. Playing against another human being will give you a new and unique game each and every time, whereas if you play a mission over and over again, it's just going to be the same mission. And so, in gaming in general, I've become more and more of a multiplayer, online, competitive player, not necessarily for, the competitive edge of it, but just because, I like playing with other human beings. And you're right that there is the potential for there to be some not so great multiplayer in there, and that's an issue when the selling point, we've all played the Advance Wars. I beat you guys beat Advance Wars 1 through whatever, I beat number two's campaign. We've already played the single player, and sure, there is a whole generation of Nintendo fans, Switch havers, video game players that haven't played Advance Wars, and honestly, I'd kind of hate for this to be their first exposure to the series. But, a lot of us have already played that single-player content, and if we ignore Advance Wars by web, which is kind of a big caveat here, but if we do that, then this is really going to be the first time that Advance Wars has online reliable, ongoing multiplayer, because I know the DS's servers were shut down quite a while ago, so even when it did have theoretically online multiplayer, not once they shut the servers down. So this will be the only official way to play Advance Wars online multiplayer. And yeah, if they don't have great PvP, that kind of leads me back to the question of why play this game? Why not just keep playing Advance Wars by web?
Even just looking at these pictures, it just looks so bad.
I think I saw a post that was, I felt like it was a little bit unfair because it was a picture. I feel like maybe if we see footage of it, it might help out a little bit. But I remember I saw a post of someone taking a screenshot of the map of Advanced Wars with like units on properties and all that. And one of them, and the post said, "Can you count how many units the Black Hole Army is on screen?" And you just looked at some tanks sitting on top of cities, and you're just like, "Is that a vehicle or is that a property?" Like the colors just become too similar. It can I hope it doesn't mess up the visuals of the game, but just from looking at that one picture, I am starting to get a bit worried now. Because I complained about like how the mechs look like they don't weigh anything at all, and I'm like, well, I mean, if it still serves their function, then yeah. But just seeing that post and like seeing how hard it was to see some of the units, that was something I was definitely worried about.
I think if you look at how the game looks, I think that speaks volumes on the level of detail the PvP might have. These features that you're talking about, they're probably not going to be very good, if in the game at all, just from looking at how cheap the graphics look, which is a very sad and depressing thought for me, because like you said also, you think this is the first game someone to play for the Advanced Wars for the first time, and it's this? I mean, that's a sad thought, but it's also probably going to be true if the game comes out. Obviously, there's some real copium here. Maybe they're actually working on the game instead of just sitting on the game and doing nothing.
I hope they're
don't know.
using this delay time wisely.
That's the copium, right? I mean, hopefully they are.
Personally, I feel like the game's physical copies, they're all just collecting dust right now.
That's true. They do have physical copies. That means that maybe that does.
So we have to hope that there is a day one patch.
Day one patch, yeah.
Changes things up
right.
a bit.
I don't think that the graphics are going to change though. At this point in the game, the only thing, and I've mentioned this to you before, but I really want there to be just an option. You go into the menu, click a button, and then bam, you have the original pixel graphics.
That would be so wonderful, but given the perspective that the 3D gameplay takes place at, it's not the top-down that the 2D art uses. It's from like an angle. So it would be quite difficult to implement something like that where, yeah, you just press one button and you switch to the 2D art style, which I would love because those assets already exist. You know, like they don't have to do the work of creating those 2D assets. They exist. They could just put them in and you press the select button and it switches to 2D mode. But I don't know. Or, you know, maybe they just have the attitude of like, look, we're taking the series in a new direction, so no, we're not going to let you press select to switch to 2D graphics because this is our game and this is the way we made it and this is the way it is. Which, you know, is fair, but also concerning. You know, and as a fan, that's not what I want.
Not at all.
There's another issue with Way Forward that you could see. Now, this is tied in with speculation, but it kind of hints towards a lot of how they see the game. There are a lot of developers, when they have a game coming out, they'll post it all over social media. They'll try to post it on Reddit. They'll try to have other developers also retweet it for other things. They'll do things. If you look at Way Forward's website, it's hard to find anything about Advance Wars. If you look on their Twitter, I think they might have had 2 tweets. There might have been a retweet from Nintendo of America once. If you look at their Discord server, there isn't even an Advance Wars channel. There's no Advance Wars emotes, and they don't seem to have any interest in doing certain things because it seems like, oh no, that's actually, it's complicated to certain other things. So it doesn't, like, if they really believed in this series, you would think that they would be screaming it from the rooftops, or at least whispering it, like, on Twitter, here's a post, Advanced Wars, we were delayed, but it's gonna come out eventually. But you don't see that.
Where's that guy that bought $40,000 worth of Nintendo stock just to ask him if they were gonna make F-Zero? Another F-Zero? We gotta, somebody comment his phone number down below so we can give him a call and, have him hit up Nintendo and say, like, what are you doing here? What is happening?
I will say, just from looking at the games that Way Forward has worked on, it's very bizarre. Some of them are kind of solid, and I know I've seen them before, and other ones are just like, this is just shameless. Like, this is terrible. Like the Smurfs 2.
Their games, the ones that they have IPs, they own Shantae. Shantae's a solid series with a lot of games. They own that IP. You can normally see certain games that they have are quality. Those are the ones they own. Then the ones that they look bad, those are the ones that they have a licensed IP. And I think that's that makes.
Fine. Yeah, I'm worried. I mean, you're exactly right, because I'm looking on their website, and Shantae's great. I know a lot of people love it, and I was looking at the gameplay. The art style actually looks like it's pretty fitting if they try to do Advanced Wars and more of that style. But what they're doing now is nothing like I don't know where they even, like, they hired an intern to make the game, dude. I don't know. It's just like, there's just no resemblance to what their games are that they do now with what Advanced Wars looks like. It's just it's so bizarre.
I hope I'm wrong, but in my opinion, from looking at this and everything else, I think that the Advanced Wars reboot is a shovelware remake of the game where mechanically it's going to have all of the same flaws, all of the same issues, all the same broken maps that the original games did, but then they're just going to put it into this mediocre 3D art style. I like all of the CO art except for Jess. I'll give him that. I'm fine with CO art personally, but I think everything else is just mostly a cash grab. I mean, and all these units just are repeating. It's not like it's a bunch of different. You just have like couple dozen types of units, and they do the same attack animations over and over.
Yeah. I mean, I can count the polygons.
How many?
Not many. I can count them on both of my hands. No, but I do think the CO art looks okay, but it doesn't match what's happening. Like, it's just completely different from the action. Like, the art styles are completely. I don't even want to call this an art style, honestly. Like, it's just the 3D graphics are just cheap.
Fucking roast.
Yeah, it's just not. I mean, the CO art looks good, but
on that,
it's just so. It's very depressing because, like I said earlier, it leaves you in that weird, conflicting. I don't know if I buy this game because I love the game, but here I'm supporting something that is clearly just, like you said, just shovelware. It's just not good. It's a cash grab. Do I support this? Because then if it does well, they'll just make another shameless cash grab.
I guess I want to say, I want to make one caveat for anyone listening. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm completely wrong. I hope it's an amazing game. I hope it's just everything we've wished for and more.
Oh yeah,
but I just also bring my expectations.
I think I'm not to touch on to that as well. Yeah, like we all hope we're wrong. We all hope we can look back on this and say, "Damn, I was dumb as a bag of hammers." You know, I hope I'm wrong, and that someone comes back a year from now or a couple years from now and points this at me and says, you know, you're so dumb, look how wrong you were. Like, I really want to be wrong about this, and I think we all do too.
Yeah, and then they'll ask, why did you edit out that weird section at minute 53?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that my expectations are not like super high. Like there's just some things on Advanced Wars by Web that make the multiplayer like so much better. I don't know how much they're going to try to implement it. I'm pretty sure they're just going to try to be as faithful as they can with the original game, and that's gonna suck for a bit. But if they're like, you know, so long just being faithful, and it just so happens that it just grabs a whole new audience to Advanced Wars, that's all I'm really hoping for. That's all I'm really hoping for.
So
you have to pay for Nintendo Online as well. So you pay for the game, you have to buy their online service. It's no longer free online multiplayer.
Oh god! Oh, there's no way in hell I'm paying for that.
Yeah, I mean, if you've played Super Smash Brothers before on their online, you can know just they are leagues behind everybody else when it comes to online play.
Well,
just
it's a turn-based strategy game.
Turn-based.
It's true, but still,
if they somehow mess up a turn-based strategy game online, if they somehow pull that off, my mind's just gonna be blown.
That's
let's-
true. I just don't think it's worth paying for it. Is all I'm.
Let's say that
Like,
you
it's
have an
so bad.
easy match. Okay, let's say that you jump in and you're Orange Star versus Blue Moon, and it's going great, but it takes sometimes a while. So let's say that you need to use the bathroom or something. I don't know how the timer systems, if it has any kind of timers in the game, are going to be.
Mhm.
Let's say that you have to use the bathroom, or it's like, hey, this is getting late. Can we replay this tomorrow? Is there a pause function? We don't know. Is there going to be a way for you to tell the other player, I'm going to go for 5 minutes. I'll be right back? Can't, because there's no in-game chat. How is there any way to contact any other person? Is there any way to say, hey, please don't make this another Sturm or Hatchie mirror? Can we do something else? Can you even do that? Because I don't think you can, unless you
I
meet
don't
up
think so.
online.
I hope
So
I'm
there-
wrong, but I think the multiplayer is gonna completely flop if they don't do anything like special to it.
I mean, no
Like,
one's
add
buying
some-
it for the single player, that's for sure. I mean, are they? Maybe I'm wrong about that. I
Maybe.
don't know. I'm
Maybe.
not psychic, but
I sure hope so, because I think that's going to be the best part of the game.
Okay, so what's
Yeah, well, you know
just
what?
really quickly?
Okay.
When you first heard of the announcement, what was the thing about the announcement that made you the happiest?
The fact that it was
The fact-
happening.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that the game wasn't dead, and it means like I the first thought I was like, oh my god, am I dead? Like I couldn't believe it was happening. But then ultimately, at the same time, I knew deep down, even though I was super hype and happy in the moment, I knew those graphics were fucking bad. Like at first glance, I was like, I didn't want to think it. I was in complete shock and denial at the same time. I loved it and I wanted to do well, but damn, these graphics aren't good. Looks like a bunch of budget Legos. Like, I don't know what this is.
Budget
Um,
Legos.
Oh, wow.
So I want to get positive. I don't want to stick too negative
For real.
because we can think to the future and like at least we can come up with good things that could happen because that's a possibility and we should discuss what we want to see. But before we go there, I kind of want to touch on, and before we start talking about Advanced Wars by Web, which I would like to get to as well,
It's
my-
5:30 a.m.
Okay, yeah. Well, but my big concern is that Nintendo, litigious as they are, and as well known as they are for not caring or taking care of their fans and their community, examples such as shutting down Smash Bros. Tournaments because I don't know what the exact reason is. Like, they're not officially sanctioned, or, you know, somehow big old Nintendo is, like, intimidated by fan tournaments of their games in support of their games because players love their games. My big concern, like, my nightmare scenario, is that Nintendo tries to shut down Advance Wars by Web, and honestly, the worse that the reboot does, and, you know, it's not looking super great, the more of a threat that becomes, because just relatively the better Advance Wars by Web is, why would you even buy the reboot when you can already get the best feature, online multiplayer, with Advance Wars by Web? And I again, this is the thing that I hope I'm wrong about more than anything else, because, you know, Advance Wars by Web has made it this long without a cease and desist. And they don't make any money off of it, so they're not profiting off of anybody's IP. You know, it's completely free and, you know, fan supported. But I think there's a very real possibility, and that is a huge concern of mine. And I don't know, Red Halo, you being kind of more on the development side of things, is this something you've thought about? Is this a concern? Has the team thought about this? Is there anything you guys could even do?
Several of us have some pretty wild plans or thoughts of what we could do possibly. So, as some people in the comments know, I've been working on the Battle Sprite project, and some of us were saying that if we do get DMCA'd, that we might have an option of making a new version of the game but we would have to use all new assets, and we would have to have new character commanders. So that's one possibility, and I was talking with some other people. It wouldn't be that hard to make new tile assets, because, I mean, there aren't many that pixel tiles. That's not hard. But the map animations and other things with other units, with enough changes where it's a new IP, I think that's a reasonable thing that we could do. So I'm also not as concerned as some people, because for them to put a DMCA on Advance Wars by Web when they have it on Pokemon Showdown or on various other fan games that they actually care about the franchise, like if they cared about the Advance Wars franchise, I mean, I think that they would be doing a lot more in a lot of other areas. I mean, if we were, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Advance Wars by Web is around 20 years old, now almost 20, and it was made a little after Advance Wars 2, so it's older than Dual Strike. But there were other games that were connected with as well. There was also a Fire Emblem by Web that existed for a while. I think if there was something like that, I think it would have the DMCA would be much more likely. But at least this is my opinion, and I might be totally wrong. But some fan games are hit or miss with Nintendo. They take some down, they leave some up. I mean, they would really have to care about Advance Wars to take us down. And I mean, do they care about Advance Wars? Is that big? Do they lose sleep overnight that we have a small fan base here? So.
Oh, yeah. Those are some major concerns that, I mean, I guess maybe we could take pride and be happy that we're lesser known. So maybe then we don't have to worry and be paranoid.
Take pride that Nintendo doesn't care about us.
Trying to look at the bright side of things.
It's kind of funny.
There's Commander Wars, which is another fan game. There's Advance Wars by Web. There's Tiny Wars. I know multiple other people working on their own fan games. There's Loss made Defend Peace, and there are all these. And I'm saying, why don't you just make a new IP? Then you never have to worry about DMCA's ever. And this is what I've been pestering people with this. So, I think that Advance Wars by Web also has a lot of custom nations. If we could just also change some of those assets to be completely original art instead of just changed color. I mean, if we were to DMCA, we could just take out the original assets, and then we could have the penguins left, we could have the aliens, and if we make some certain other ones, I mean, we could still have a good functioning game, I assume.
So wait, is White Nova canonically aliens?
Yes. JMB in the Advanced Wars by Web server made them.
Alright, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. White Nova are aliens. If you were taking bets on this, pay up now.
I think I mentioned that earlier. I thought I did.
You did, but I didn't, we're hearing it here that it's official. So
funny how we were. I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna say.
Funny how we were.
Oh, you say your thing.
Okay, funny how we were talking about like if Nintendo ever like got into Advance Wars by Web and just like stopped it all. I just want to say that Advance Wars by Web probably has like it is like the best way to play Advance Wars online. My dream scenario would be if Advance Wars Online or Advance Wars PvP with Re-Bootcamp was exactly or very similar to Advance Wars by Web. That's just my dream scenario for multiplayer. But like I said, my expectations are not too high for this. I expect this game to be as vanilla as possible, but just has the multiplayer feature. But yeah,
do you think they'll even have a rank system, like any sort of way?
I don't think they would have a rank system. I mean, they could add one, but I don't really see that happening. I don't expect a rank system. I don't expect a rank system. I just expect, you just boot up and you play a game with someone else, and you just play exactly how it would have been on the cartridge, how it would have been vanilla, and there's just going to be like lowest expectations, no way to communicate with your opponent, and no way to save your games. So you're probably just going to be playing a game with someone for like hours and hours on end, assuming they like take for freaking ever for their turns.
Or someone just leaves and the game's over, I guess.
Oh man, that would also suck. I mean, I'll be glad. I mean, I can just imagine that like after like playing one game for like 3 hours, it's finally over, and you're just like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, let's so Red Halo, thank you for dissuading some of like the majority of my fears, because that is something I would hate to see happen. And
This is negative. Since I know it's getting kind of long, I'll say some positive things.
Yeah,
as
I
well.
wanted to get next. Like, what do you? There's still, it's in the future. We don't know what it is. We've seen some gameplay. We're making lots of assumptions. We're dooming and glooming, but what are some positives you'd like to see? What are some positives we could see out of this? Like, we don't know how the multiplayer is going to work. It could actually be really great.
Right now, for Advance Wars by Web anyway, the delay for the reboot coming out is actually really helping me. My goal is to get the first version of the battle sprite animations for Advance Wars by Web online. And I've talked to Matsu. An idea that I had is actually, in my opinion, if the UI can work for the battle sprites, I think that it would be a better viewing experience as well as playing experience than playing the actual games. So right now, if you think about it kind of more of a meta level, like imagine that we have the reboot right now. If you're watching player 1 versus player 2, whenever any unit hits another unit, the game freezes and you see an attack screen. Same thing in Wargroove. Then you have to watch a battle animation, and then you go to the next thing and you move, and then another battle animation. There's a lot of stops and starts. And I think that this is something that is an issue, a bigger issue than people realize. So, and if most people, if they play the game for a long period of time, they just turn off battle animations anyway, because once you see them once, I mean, it's nothing that, it's usually not this or that. So, but a lot of people miss them, so you just see this kind of boring static map screen. So I was suggesting, and Matsu's, so far he's been positive on it, and we're going to try it, hopefully, where the UI is going to be on a pop-out window or on a separate window from the map screen. So it'll be like the game as it is kind of right now, but at the same time, on the same you'll also have a UI of the battle animations. So so then if, like, let's say that you have a Twitch overlay, so you could have one part of the screen, here's the map, and then you can move the battle animations and make it whatever rate, like whatever size you want, hypothetically. And then as you're playing in the map, you're playing like normal, but then there's kind of a queue of one at a time, and it'll show the battle animations. So then the people also watching the stream will have something to watch, and so then you get the best of both worlds. You're still able to play without any interruptions, like you have no battle animations, but at the same time, you also have something visually happening on the screen over and over and over. So I think that that's going to I think that it's going to help a lot for Twitch viewership and YouTube streams and whatnot.
I agree. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, that's my idea. I was thinking when I came up, it hit me like a bolt of lightning, and I was like, holy shit, that's a good idea. I better write that down.
As well as appealing to like maybe like some more casual fans who like actually adore the animations.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the old school animations. I think they're amazing. It's hard for me to turn them off because, I mean, I want to watch them. I like them. If anything, I just want them to be super fast, maybe. And then I would try, like, on the actual old games, right, when I'm playing on emulators.
Yeah.
But, because I hate turning the animations off. But eventually, when you're, playing a big war room map or something, you get all these units. It's like, I don't got time to watch all these damn animations.
So I think with this, Advance Wars by Web, I think it's the best of both worlds. So you could kind of have the battle animations running, but it doesn't slow your game down at all. You can keep playing, and if you want to glance over, you can. And anybody watching the stream, they could watch the map like they are already, or they could also look at the battle animations and go back and forth. So I think that it kind of has the best parts of each thing. And it'll dramatically speed up games too if you have battle animations on or off. So it'll make games way faster.
I think that you guys are doing a great job at Advanced Wars by Web, and no matter what happens, I will always love this game, even if the people on Twitter think that the game is stupid, like childish, or whatever that guy said. Like, why would anybody buy this?
I also hope just even for a spin-off. There's Wargroove, which I think the devs have said they're working on more Groove. They're being very vague, but I hope for success for that as well. I hope there's a game that's sort of similar called Cantata, and I hope that from I think Modern Wolf Games is the publisher, and I hope that they are successful in the future. They're still in very early access, there's a number of different fan games or things with in kind of a Wars type game, if I'll call it that, but it's new IPs. There's many games that I hope that are successful.
Yeah, I for one am on that War Groove train right with you, and I think these two guys got to try it at some point. They would probably like it. It's pretty fun.
I'm already playing a part of it. Yeah, talk about like the
That's
whole
right.
talk about like the whole community and everything that like people are doing here that's like not associated with like the main holders of like Advance Wars like Nintendo or whatever. I still think that we still are a very fantastic community, and we're all just doing our best to enjoy the game that we love. So, if we were to mention any positive notes, I think the community that we have right now is definitely a big plus.
Yeah, the Advance Wars community, I mean, I'll tell you from, like, the creator side of things, and we could all probably speak to this, but, you know, there's a lot of negativity out there, and there's a lot of negativity in a lot of places for a lot of reasons, but when it comes to Advance Wars, this community, yeah, has been really, it's been so friendly, so supportive, you know, whether it's the Advance Wars Reddit, the Advance Wars by Web Reddit, the Advance Wars by Web Discord server, just playing online Advance Wars by Web, you know, even the comments section of our videos, the people who show up to our streams, they're just the friendliest, the nicest, the most helpful, the most engaging, the most positive. And so, you know, a big shout out to everyone who is a part of the community, because we wouldn't be playing the game if it weren't for other players. And we wouldn't be making these videos if it weren't for the people watching them. And we wouldn't be engaging with the Advance Wars community if they weren't worth engaging with. So I do think you're right there. That is a pretty amazing aspect of it, and I wouldn't be doing what I was doing, you know, still. I would have given up by now if it weren't for such an amazing community. And I think that amazing community is going to get us through whatever it is that comes next. You know, I do think whatever multiplayer features are or are not, you know, perhaps they're lacking, I think the community is what's going to make the reboot the best that it could possibly be. Whatever that is, the community is going to make it better. And, you know, whatever it is that comes, I know these like really awesome people are going to be there to support us and, you know, keep doing what they're doing.
Oh yeah, brother.
Yeah, and like Dual Strike we mentioned earlier, where it's pretty unplayable if you just don't know anything and you just go with Oz rules, but if you kind of have house rules, it dramatically improves the experience. I think that the reboot's going to be kind of similar. I think it's going to be all right once you have house rules, and if you could talk to other people on Discord or other social media, and you could say, we're going to play on this map, and somebody made the map so it's more balanced, and which COs are we having, which tier. I think once we have these kind of house rules, that's when I think that the reboot's going to be at its best.
Yeah, we don't even know if there's going to be any map. Well, is there going to be map making features? But I'm excited to see what happens there.
There's a map feature, but we don't know if there's symmetry tools or not.
Okay.
I remember watching a video of someone who was talking about Days of Ruin Online, which I completely forgot to mention. I hope they have very different requirements, because according to someone, if you wanted to upload a map on Days of Ruin and play it online with other people, I want you guys to guess how big the map was supposed to be.
Oh, I remember reading about this.
30 by 20 by 20 or something? I don't know.
Wrong. Art?
I have no idea. I want to say 69 by 69.
I know the answer to this. Do you want me to give it away?
10 by 10.
10 by frickin' 10. That is tiny.
They expected you to create a custom map, and the only way that, a custom map that's only 10 by 10, only way that you can play a custom map online and during Days of Ruin was your map had to be 10 by 10. I can't remember other aspects. Something about like 51 units is like too much or something, but you can't even get that at 10 by 10. As well as it would also not be uploaded if it had a very inappropriate name. But I just think that the limitation of just like having a 10 by 10 map only 10 by 10 custom maps only being allowed to be played for online, that I hope if they ever go with some kind of route like that they change it up and make it something like a lot more viable. And on the personal level, I also hope that they also allow some asymmetry to negate the first turn advantage.
Oh yeah.
If
And
we can ever customize and upload maps for online.
when you look at the stuff that people have been making and have been able to make with like Mario Maker, that actually really does get me excited to see what people are gonna do with the reboot. And the maps they make, the scenarios they make. Maybe there's even a mission editor. I don't know. Let's cross our fingers.
If we are able and allowed to like have our own custom maps and like just put it up there on the internet and like have the whole Advance Wars fan base go online and see that you can play these custom maps, I think PvP is probably going to be saved. Just imagine the tournament potential that we could have, just like grassroots online tournaments, or like maybe even local tournaments if we ever get that big. But just like the thought of having that accessibility for everyone to play and being able to like work with it and set up competitions or like tournaments or whatever, it's probably just a fever dream for me, but I think that would dramatically improve the online of Advance Wars.
This is a new thought that I've just had right now, but I'm also wondering if Nintendo themselves, if you notice some of their other large titles like Super Smash Brothers, people were able to make their own stages. Some people were making either offensive stages or stages where they were drawing a character sexually, and they really went in there and just deleted a lot of those ASAP. And there's a lot of other custom content and other games that they really try to monitor heavily. I wonder if they're having an issue with potentially people either trying to figure out ways to have offensive sounding names, or even worse, on the maps themselves, and they try to draw like offensive things or genitalia or offensive symbols. I wonder if this is an issue in Nintendo. I wonder if that actually bothers them a lot or not.
I mean, obviously they can't leave it alone if that's ever a thing.
It's hard to keep track of like a ton of maps.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's hard to like officially monitor all that, because how many people is Nintendo really gonna hire to do the moderation on this sort of thing? But if you make it 100% automated, they're gonna find a way. If you give people a chance to like try to be offensive, they'll find a way. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Is it all just like user reported and you see what happens, or is there going to be a system in place? I don't know. That'll be real interesting to see.
It will be.
It will be.
It will be. Red Halo,
Well,
you're supposed to join
That's
us.
out.
Well, I think that the online is pretty terrible and you have to pay for it. And even though it is a turn-based game, I think with their service being so mismanaged, just, from playing other online games, it's so bad. I can't believe that you have to pay for it. I'm pretty sure Xbox Live is like free now too. So like when you compare it to the other services that are kind of similar, it's kind of
how the
crazy you have
times
to
have
pay for this
changed.
one. It's crazy.
Do you remember when the 360 came out with Xbox Live and the Wii Online was free?
Yeah, I played Monster Hunter Tri online on the Wii all the time for free. And I ended up getting rid of my Xbox Live because of it. And now it's just like Uno reverse. Now you pay for Nintendo and Xbox is free. Absolutely wild.
So we've been talking about Advance Wars by Web, but let's just take a few minutes. We'll get through it quickly, but let's just take a few minutes to talk about some Advance Wars by Web exclusive stuff. In particular, I really like the Global League. I really like this ranked multiplayer. As I mentioned, I like multiplayer. I like online competitive multiplayer. And, that's what got me into Advance Wars. If Advance Wars by Web was somehow, like, just the single player of Advance Wars, I certainly wouldn't be logging in every single day to check my matches and play that. So that is a really huge aspect of it to me. I think the map making tools are wonderful. So absolutely worth checking out. If you've always wanted to make an Advance Wars map, well, hey, yeah, check out Advance Wars by Web because they do it right. And I think there's been some very tiny changes made to balance, but I do think they're all for the better. So, I mean, those are the three big ones that I really like about Advance Wars by Web. And let's let Red Halo toot his own horn for a moment.
Oh.
I think it's an interesting-ish history also. So this guy, a mariner who's like in the website title, he made it almost 20 years ago now. I hope we're going to be doing something. I think it's about 19 years. So I hope there's going to be some kind of big anniversary event or something. So it made a lot of changes, and it kind of was big around when Advance Wars 2, like right around release, and DS came out, and then the site got a lot of bugs, and it became really unstable. And the site apparently died, and it was just pretty much unfunctional for several years, until the admin Walker kind of got a message from XMO5, and it's like, hey, the site's having a lot of issues. Do you think you could look at it or something? So they got the site up and running. It was just, I guess, a year or two ago that it became refreshless. Before, you had to click a unit and then click where you wanted to go, and it would refresh the page. So that's the way I played it.
I remember that.
Yeah, when I first joined, it was an experience. So
you couldn't see the direction from where units were coming from in fog. That was a pain.
And so I guess I'll mention there were some amazing strategies. The greatest thing about that you can't do anymore. I heard Lost and Found did it, but I don't know if he created it. There was in the fog matches, if you would you would just see your state of the board, and then when it's your turn again, you would just see the next state. You couldn't see what happened in between, and the replay had an issue, this and that. So he would build a copter on his airport if the other person could see it, and then he would end his turn, and he wouldn't move his copter. And then the next turn, they'd say, oh, they built another copter, and he would just never move it off their airport. So the enemy was thinking, oh, they're copter spamming, so then they tried to build as many anti-airs to go against their copter spam.
Oh my god.
Had one, but it was just sitting on an airport. So then they had all of their tanks fighting against this whole enemy horde of anti-airs, which is just the most hilarious strategy.
Oh my god. That is so ridiculous.
That's pretty cheesy.
I am so glad that we are not in that time period anymore. I think that was another big appeal as to why Advance Wars by Web got a lot better.
Oh, that's a huge quality of life update, yeah.
Oh, it's a huge quality of life update.
I mean, constant development, it's a big plus for Advance Wars by Web, just in that, it's not in a final state. Talking about before how, you'd have a game and it was on a cartridge. Well, Advance Wars by Web, you're not trying to sell us DLC, you're just making improvement to the game. So that's pretty spectacular, because that's just what we end up with, a better game. And it's all, it's all free, it's all fan-made, fan-supported.
Honestly, plugins make the game much better as well, but one of the issues that we've seen be having, that I've talked to them, like different mods and devs in private mostly, is we can't... I have issues kind of recommending certain add-ons and plugins, even if they're amazing and incredible, because if I'm just also afraid that what happens in the future if somebody puts a virus in something, or if there's some kind of an issue. So we're trying to also figure out ways to look through certain things or verify things before we recommend them. So that's one of the things that I've been saying we need to work on more right now, because there's a tremendous amount of amazing plugins that make the site much, much better, that make the pixel quality better, or help with the color blindness issue, or the replay finder. It adds certain things like more animations when people use powers. And I guess a year or two, I guess it's been a year and a half ago now or so, a year ago, when we had the movement animations on the maps. So that was a nice little quality of life thing as well. So yeah, there's a lot of incremental changes from the site and various add-ons, and yeah, I'm really interested in where it's going to go one day.
Yeah, I mean, Hattori, why do you play Advance Wars by Web versus Wargroove versus Well, you can't really play any other
Well.
Advance Wars online, so it's your only option. If you want to play Advance Wars online, you know where to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game that I grew up with. It's a lot of my childhood, very nostalgic for me. So I've always loved it. And War Group, unfortunately, I do really like that game, but unfortunately, its community is definitely thinned out quite a lot, and not many people play it. So you can't even really get good online matches for that anymore. But yeah, I mean, even if War Group was still like banging and popular right now, I would still be in love with Advanced Wars. And I honestly, even as much as I love the PvP, I honestly just chill and do the war games on the solo player and emulator. It's not quite by web, but it's just how much I love the game. Like I'll just literally get my old DS out and play on my cartridge and stuff still. Because it's just one of those comfort games for me. Just like everybody has like a comfort food. That's what Advanced Wars is for me. It's just comfort. Makes me feel good whenever I play it. Like it just always works. I play it on whenever I have a flight. I'll bring it with me. When it comes to the actual PvP changes on Advanced Wars by web, I think that the Global League, all of the PvP stuff is great. The way that the timers work and how you can play a game and then kind of forget about it and then go right back to it after a day or so. It makes it just so convenient and easy to play compared to what you would imagine a normal system would be like in the consoles of today. I don't think it would be nearly as good as all the features and details that we have here, because we're a bunch of nerds that love the game and we know exactly what we want in order to play the game properly. And I think that's why we have all these concerns over the reboot, because they're probably not thinking about it as much as we are, and they probably haven't even seen this website and seen all the things that we've done, so they probably don't even know what they're doing is wrong or why we are looking for those features. But they'll find that out the hard way and probably get lots of patch updates probably along the way as it gets released. But yeah, I love this. I love everything you guys have been doing, Red Halo. You've been doing a great job, and just keep it up. And you guys with your content, it's been amazing. All you guys have been making some seriously good videos.
Awesome. Advanced Warrior, we'll let you close up your thoughts.
I'm sorry. What was the main question again?
Oh yeah,
What
we're
was,
talking about
what are we
Advanced
covering?
Wars by web, like specifically the stuff that's unique to Advanced Wars by web. What stands out to you? What are your favorite features?
Oh, Advanced Wars by Web was basically just the one thing that I always wanted but didn't know it existed. Had I known that this site existed, I would have jumped on it right away. Like I said, when I was younger, I didn't have a pal to play any PvP with, but now that I found Advanced Wars by Web, it was very rough at the beginning, playing against another human opponent, but it also just exposed me to like this fantastic community that I didn't even know existed. And it just kind of like gave me this drive to like, find other people who've like, played Advanced Wars or just heard of Advanced Wars by Web. I'm like, hey, yo, join the Discord server. There's like so many of us, like you wouldn't believe it. Because I was like, kind of like, I'm the only one that plays Advanced Wars. There's no one that I know that plays it with me. And then I just find this website, and then I just find this Discord server. I'm just like, oh my god, there's so much more people to play Advanced Wars with. It was basically like a dream come true. Also, Advanced Wars by Web, I would say, is the game that like respects your time so much, where you can like customize it to like how long you would want like turns to be, or when's the next time your opponent's gonna make a move. Like you could just set up and do like live play, or you could like meet up with friends and just like sit. Have one sitting and just play like that if you don't want to do like the long play. But the long play, it's a great opportunity for that strategy, which is what we all love when we're playing Advanced Wars, just calculating moves and thinking about what's the best thing we could do. And it just like really showcases like who's the best at the game and whatnot. But yeah, I think like the time management of Advanced Wars by Web is probably my most favorite feature about the site, and probably the only thing that I would hope that the Re-Bootcamp includes, which is all these customizable time options, long play or live play. Map customization is probably the second one, but the time management on Advanced Wars by Web is just so wonderful.
It's amazing what a difference a simple, timer can make and proper implementation.
Yeah, add skills.
Yeah, I mean, I like my matches that go for a couple days where you log in once a day. I also like setting up kind of blitz games with shorter timers.
Live play, skirmish.
Because I come from an RTS background. I really like real-time strategy games. So to play with Fog of War and with like a 3 to 5 minute per turn timer, that's almost replicating the RTS experience, and like that's right where I fit in. So that's my jam. I only play Fog in the Global League. But alrighty, yeah, I mean we've gone on for almost 3.5 hours now. So thank you everyone for joining us.
It is 6 a.m.
Yeah, do we have any closing thoughts on, Advance Wars? Happy
skills.
21st birthday.
Happy birthday.
I am, happy birthday. I am always going to be a fan. Like, I don't know how far I'd go, but Advance Wars, anything, I just love so much. And I'll just do what I can in hopes for the best. Even if I'm not like, a mod or developer or anyone who could like work on the site, I just make the content and I just share it with so many other people who don't know about this community, which is not surprising because you'd think this game is dead. But like I said a few minutes ago, the community is vast and I just want more and more people out there to know that we exist.
And it's growing.
Hopefully, it's growing and hopefully they can come find us.
I think I remember reading there was like 1,800 people that played the league this month, right?
Oh, what?
I remember reading, it was an announcement in the Advance Wars by Web Discord. I think there was like a new record of 1,500 people playing league this month.
At 1,800. I think July was 14 something, and this month is 18 something, just for the league matches.
Oh,
that's not counting.
That is insane growth.
That's that's not counting all the casual players. That's not counting all of the spectators. That's just individual accounts playing serious matches in the league.
Wow.
I think it would be a quick, fun thing since this is recorded and we don't. What year do you think it's going to be, if ever, that they're going to have a new mainline Advance Wars game with like a new plot and everything else?
Ooh.
If you want to throw it.
I think it'll happen. I think with the way people have been rebooting game franchises and movie series and everything, I think it will happen. Do we end up with another Days of Ruin type thing? Do we end up with like another Battalion Wars type thing? Or do we end up with like an OG Advance Wars? I do not know, but I think it'd happen. And let's peg it at, let's just say the reboot does fairly well. That inspires a Advance Wars DS Re-Bootcamp, right? And then maybe that leads to a sequel. Let's give it 6 years. I'm gonna roll the dice. I'm gonna say 6 years.
Well, time to start writing my fan fiction right now and like submit it to Nintendo or something.
So I'm going to bet that it's going to take longer. I think it's going to be 2032. They're going to announce a new Advance Wars game with a new plot, but then it'll be delayed because we're going to be invaded by aliens.
Oh my god.
I was gonna say something similar. Whatever day World War III is, that'll be the day it'll drop. Just a very tragic timing.
Yeah, I had a similar thought, but now I have a new prediction with what I just heard. Probably like maybe another 10 years or so, we could maybe have like a new mainline Advance Wars. But as we all know, this series is cursed, and something tragic will happen that will halt or hurt the expectations of the game.
There is that famous Albert Einstein quote where he says, "I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but I do know that it will begin the day after we get a new Advance Wars game."
Oh my god.
I remember that quote. I learned
I wish I
in
did.
school.
Alrighty. I feel like we pretty well covered it. Does anyone have any like closing thoughts, or we'll get into our outro?
I personally just want to get to the
what
outro.
time is it there
6
right now, Advanced Warrior?
6:16 a.m.
Okay, thank you so much for bearing with us through this. I had a wonderful time.
No. If I lived by myself, I would have been fine. Problem is, I live with my parents.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna just right now to make up for it.
Well, yeah, Red Halo, why don't you start us off? What are you working on? Do you have like a channel, self-promotion? Tell us what you're working on, what the future looks like.
So my hobby schedule is, right now I'm working on the battle sprites, first phase for the site. Then I'm going to start doing the second phase, which gives not just recolors, but try to have unique vehicles for all the units. And possibly map unit changes. I don't know if we'll get those through, but I'm trying to suggest them. Then I'm going to work on my stupid Advanced Wars dating simulator parody game. I'm going to try to finish that. There's a lot more content coming in that. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to do a long-term project actually, where I'm going to try to create my own Wars game with a new IP. I'm friends with enough developers, programmers, and I know a lot of indie dev and indie producing companies and stuff from different, just randomly I just know. So I'm thinking I'm going to start working on sprites and mechanics of my own game. So that's my hobbies for probably the next few years.
Alrighty, Advanced Warrior, why don't you tell us, about your channel, what you're working on, anything you want to self-promo here. Now's your chance.
As of right now, I am a Advanced Wars by Web and Tiny Wars content creator, mainly a PvP. I also have some Fire Emblem and some Advanced Wars single player on my channel. The Let's Plays have been on a hiatus, but when I have the time, I definitely do want to start covering all the games, including Days of Ruin. I don't know about Battalion Wars though, but yeah, I'm hoping to I upload every weekend. I'm hoping to do Wednesday uploads as well. I uploaded it on Wednesday. That did pretty well. I'm currently running a tournament for Tiny Wars, so that's on my channel. We're going to cover every match if you're interested. And is that all I wanted to say? Yeah, just a very passionate Advanced Wars by Web YouTuber. The game's the name. If you know what Advanced Wars is, you hopefully recognize where my name comes from.
And Tori Gold, what have you been working on? Please tell me you got another Advanced Wars video in the works.
I have that War Group Advanced Wars one that I need to put out with you that we did together. That is hopefully coming soon. It was a long one, just like this podcast.
That one, we wanted like 20, 30 minutes, and we went for like 3 hours.
But I don't really have anything really to promote here other than you guys. I think everybody, if they are even still around listening because it's so long, I hope you guys sub to this channel right now.
Yeah, the true fans.
And Advanced Warrior, sub right now.
Yeah. Well, hey, you got a YouTube channel, so you've got 2 YouTube channels.
I do.
I need to send you my link.
Yeah. Well, everybody's link is going to be down in this description. Everything they talk about. Myself, you're watching this on my channel, from the desk of Daniel J. Heiser. That is me. I am also proud to be a developer and community manager for a game that we got released on Steam called Europe in Ruins. It is actually a game modification for Company of Heroes. So it's like a total transformation. And what I'm really proud of is that it has persistent unit veterancy. So you think about a lot of RTS games, you can vet up your units, but guess what? You play a new match, and that's it. You start all over again. You got to build your base again, blah, blah, blah. In this, well, if you vet up a unit over time, it's permanent. If it dies, it's dead. But if it survives, then you get to keep that veterancy between games. And we run months-long campaigns, and it really just adds a completely different level to the game. So, hey, check that out if you like real-time strategy games. On my channel, I do gaming stuff as well, some strategy gaming, a little bit of comedy. Mostly, I've been doing Advanced Wars stuff, hence, this video and everything. But yeah, I'm really happy to have been able to do this with you guys. I had a blast doing this, and yeah, like this was the first time we all got together and discussed something and kind of got together and worked on something. But I'm really glad we did, and this is most certainly something we need to do again in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hopefully, when Re-Bootcamp comes out, we all have fantastic discussions about the game.
Oh yeah.
True.
Yeah, like it comes out, we just have like all these amazing things to say and the future of Advance Wars. Or if not, we could still maybe talk about the future of Advance Wars and some positives and negatives along the way.
Very true.
Alrighty, well, let me rock a quick outro. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us, everybody, including and especially our audience. I hope you enjoyed this sort of thing. You know, I hope you liked hearing what we all had to say. So links to everybody's channels and projects and whatnot are going to be down in the description. Check them out. Like the video, leave a comment, because we want to know what your thoughts are on Advance Wars. How did you get started with this series? You know, what does this series mean to you? What do you like about Advance Wars by Web? Because that's probably where most of you are coming from. And what are you looking forward to with the reboot? Subscribe to everybody's channel. That always helps us out with the YouTube algorithm and whatnot. And yeah, really glad to have you guys. If you want more of it, check out everybody's stuff. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all in the next one.
Bye.
Good night.